board will come to order. Madam Superintendent, I suspect you have a recommendation.
I do, thank you. I recommend the school board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1, and for the purposes of discussing and considering several student matters involving the admission, discipline, or the disclosure of information contained in the scholastic record of students in the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2.
And for the record, please note that we are proceeding without Mr. Street, who has promised us he'll be here in 15 minutes. Recognize Ms. Pence.
I move that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1-4, and to discuss scholastic records involving the discussion or consideration of admission or disciplinary matters concerning any student of any state school system under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
And second by Mr. Rickard. All in favor of going into a closed session, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And we will return shortly. Clerk, Mr. Street joined us in closed session at 5:47 and is with us now. Is there a motion to reconvene in open session?
Move to reconvene in open session.
Is there
Second.
and a second? The Shenandoah County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements as stated by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and number two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Shenandoah County School Board. Each member will respond by saying, "I so certify," when called upon by the clerk, and the chair calls for a roll call vote.
Mr. Scheide,
I so certify.
Mr. Street,
I so certify.
Ms. Carlinia,
I so certify.
Ms. Pence,
I so certify.
Mr. Ricker,
I so certify.
Mr. Vance.
I so certify. For purposes of an invocation and to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I call upon District 1 member, Mr. Scheide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of learning and the privilege of shaping the hearts and minds of our students. Please bless this board with wisdom and clarity as we make decisions that impact education in our community. Help us to foster environments where every child can grow in knowledge, character, and opportunity. Strengthen and encourage our teachers and staff who dedicate themselves tirelessly daily to guiding and inspiring our students. May our work tonight reflect a commitment to excellence and the future of those we serve. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Scheide. Thank you all. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion is to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the agenda as presented is approved. Madam Superintendent, I have a suspicion you have some recognitions.
We do. We have two recognitions for this evening. This evening, we're going to start with a donation to our middle and high school FFA organization. So I would like to ask from Central High School, Sherry Heichman and Derek Rittenauer and their students to come forward. From Peter Muhlenberg Middle School, Ambrosia Church, and your students to come forward. From Signal Knott Middle School, Dakota Stroud, and any students you've brought with you. Strasburg High School, Abby Cobb, and any students you have brought with you. North Fork Middle School, Brittany Bowman, and any students you have brought with you. And then Stonewall Jackson High School, Dorinda Showman and Dylan Dawson, and any students that you have brought with you. Did I forget anyone? Okay, Mr. Street, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Okay. I'll have Toby Markley, Guy Dukenauer come up. And Toby, or which one decided to speak?
I'm talking, guys correcting me.
All right. He'll explain what the three of us represent and doing and going to do.
We represent the Keystone National Truck and Tractor Pool. We've been doing it since 2007. It's been primarily for the FFAs, and in the past years we've given money to the county FFAs, as long as with the Pennsylvania, Maryland, and here, but some of the state Pennsylvania, we've sponsored some stuff for the state of Pennsylvania also. We just a bunch of old country boys that like tractor pulling, and we put a pull on in Harrisburg in March of every year. Been doing it all except for COVID. Every year is the only year that we missed was then. So we just wanted to show our support and some of our profits of our labor. It's all nonprofit. Nobody makes nothing off of it. We just spend a lot of time and a lot of hard work so we can raise money to give away. That's what we're doing. Guys got the money.
Well, and we have a lot of volunteers from Shenandoah County that goes up there, they take off work and help us volunteer, and some of them's parents of the kids staying here.
Yeah. See, he correct me when I don't do it all.
Yeah, that's probably important to point out that it's not just the three of us that we're on the committee, but like you said, there's who knows how many volunteers from Shenandoah County that come up, they take off work and put this event on. So the three of us representing this area, and there's a group that'll do the same in Pennsylvania and Maryland. But what we wanted to do tonight was give each middle school FFA chapter $900, and to give each high school FFA chapter $1,500.
Here's a North Fork. You're handing them out? All right, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Poor thing.
Which is a total of $7,200.
Thank you.
Signal not.
Well, no.
Good work.
Central.
Wow.
Central.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep, good work.
I'll have to attend school a little bit more often.
There you go.
Thank you. We're good. We'll give it back. Yeah, I'm a little thick here.
I got three. 1, 2, 3.
We done?
Yep. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, you will.
Thank you, Mr.
So thank you for that donation. That's fantastic. I am sure it will be used wisely by our FFA chapters. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Miss Melissa Foles from Strasburg High School, who needs to be home by 7:30 because there's a great big football game that she wants to attend. To watch on TV.
Yes, Ole Miss is playing someone, I don't know, but Ole Miss is going to win. You come one up here.
No, so you look so big, and then all of a sudden they stood up, and now you look like a dwarf.
I know, I know. Y'all keep going that way just a tad.
It's beautiful.
You ready? It's your turn. Okay. Dr. Shepard, Chairman Vance, members of the board, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you tonight to recognize an amazing accomplishment by our football team this year. Success does not come without hard work and dedication. Success also does not come without support. So tonight, I would publicly like to thank all of the parents and guardians of the players and managers, all of the families of the coaching staff, the faculty and staff of Strasburg High School, the seniors from last year's football team that started this, the Strasburg Ram community, the citizens of Shenandoah County and beyond, past Strasburg High School alumni, and beyond for all of the support, the encouragement given to our football team throughout this season. Dr. Shepard and members of the board, I would also like to take this opportunity to publicly thank you. Though I'm a little early, February is designated as School Board Appreciation Month in Virginia. And appropriately, this year's theme happens to be Champions for Opportunity, Advocates for Excellence. So with your support and the support of those mentioned above, I believe you will agree that the Strasburg football team seized every opportunity this season and pursued excellence in their journey to the state championship. So as a token of our appreciation for your support and in recognition of School Board Appreciation Month, we'd like to present each of you with a Strasburg High School state championship shirt.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now for the recognition of really while we're here, I'm going to turn this over to Athletic Director, Mr. Matthew Halserman.
Just 1 second. If the school board members would stand up again and the football players would do a 180, Mr. Trudgeon is going to get a picture.
I'll have to stand up on this so they can see.
I'll be right here.
Ms. Foltz, you may have to move out front.
This is about them. I'm good. I'm good. Oh, we can switch? Okay.
Count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Good job.
Mr. Hasman, thank you.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere.
Stay. Don't get to go anywhere yet. No.
Good evening, Dr. Shepard, Chairman Vance, members of the school board. Tonight we are here to recognize something far greater than a championship trophy. We are here to recognize a journey. This season did not begin the way anyone had planned. In just the second game, this team faced an early loss, the kind that makes people question, doubt, sometimes count you out far too soon. But instead of letting that moment define the season, these young men chose to let it shape them. They learned early that adversity doesn't ask permission, it just shows up. And how you respond is what matters. At the same time, this program was facing something much bigger than football and far more important than any scoreboard. This program has a coach that showed up with courage, faith, and heart, and this team carried that strength with him every single week. What followed was something special. This team grew closer, this team worked harder. They believed when belief was the hardest thing to do. They fought through the Bull Run District, they fought through Region 2B, and they earned their way to the state championship game for a second straight year, not with excuses, but with effort, discipline, and brotherhood. And then came the biggest stage of all. In the state championship game, things didn't start easily. Falling behind 12-0 could have broken a lesser team. But not this one. Instead of panic, there was poise. Instead of frustration, there was focus. Play by play, stop by stop, this team reminded everyone who they were. What happened next was nothing short of remarkable. They responded with heart, they responded with toughness, they responded together. And when the final whistle blew, that scoreboard told a story no one could ever forget. A 49-27 victory and a state championship earned the hard way. This championship represents more than wins and losses. It represents resilience, it represents unity, it represents choosing character over comfort and perseverance over doubt. It represents a community. To the players, you proved that belief, discipline, and brotherhood can overcome any obstacle. To the coaches, thank you for your leadership, sacrifice, and strength, especially to a coach whose fight inspired us all. And to this entire program, you didn't just win a championship, you showed what it means to never quit, to stand together, and to rise when it matters the most. This team also produced all-state performers, Gage Gutierrez as a first-team center, Jacob Britton, first-team offensive line, second-team defensive line, Quincy Williams, first-team running back, second-team linebacker, Hudson Conrad, first-team defensive lineman, Nate Turner, first-team linebacker, Brady Knight, first-team defensive back. It also produced the Class II Offensive Player of the Year in Quincy Williams, the Class II Defensive Player of the Year in Hudson Conrad, and the Class II Coach of the Year in Coach Tripp Lamb. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor I present to you the 2025 Virginia High School League Class II State Football Champions, the Strasburg Rams.
Coach, want to say anything? Coach?
First, I'd like to thank the boys. The old saying goes, coaches get too much blame when you lose, and they get too much credit when you win. It's really about these guys. It always has been. When we got off the bus after beating Glenver and Strasburg, there were thousands of people waiting to meet us there, and we saw how much it meant to Strasburg for us to win it. But since winning it, I've come to learn how much it means to everybody in Shenandoah County. So I would like to thank everybody in Shenandoah County for their support throughout our whole journey. Thank you very much.
We may bend the rules here in case any of the board members would like to make their own personal comments, starting down on District 6.
Guys, I couldn't be prouder of all y'all. Incredible year to follow. To the juniors, the sophomores, and the freshmen, y'all got big shoes to fill. The seniors really stepped up this year. The seniors, I'm gonna miss you guys. We started back in midget football. I helped coach there. I watched all y'all come up. It's hard to see some of you guys graduate, but what a way to go out. Good job. Proud of all of y'all.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Sure. No, I'm definitely proud of you all. I was back playing at Stonewall back in the years, back in the 80s when you all, Strasburg made several trips to the state playoffs, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room that remember that, and I always felt bad for Strasburg because just never could quite pull it off, but you finally, y'all finally did it, so I'm proud of y'all. Mr. Shivey and I were fortunate we made the trip down there and was able to see the game. It was a little shaky there at first, but y'all pulled through. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, gentlemen and coach, don't sell yourself short. I coached for over 20 years up through high school level in Pennsylvania, and Mr. Street was probably ready to throw me out of the stadium down at Salem after the first quarter because I was overanalyzing everything that happened. But one thing there, resilience. You spotted them points, but not once did I think that you guys gave up, and you didn't. So keep that up, not just on the field, but in everything you all do in life. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There's not a whole lot I can add, but you guys have done a great job. I mean, this has been a great year for Strasburg. So I just want to thank you again for the joy that you bring everybody. And I know this is something you're going to bring with you for the rest of your life. You know, you're never going to forget this. And don't forget the lessons that you learned as well. So good luck with everything that you have in the future. And again, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
As a former high school athlete myself, many years ago, I never had the opportunity to go to a state championship. So that is something for you to surely be proud of and something that you can carry along with you for the rest of your life. Because when you're my age, you're still going to remember this day, the day that you won. And that's something very, very special to have for the rest of your life. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I took witness to some of those other games. What was it, Matt? 5 runner-ups? I took witness to some of those games, and you went over the hump. And I was attending a community event the day you all played. A bunch of rugged people there, tough, strong, physically, emotionally. They were a little unsettled there at the beginning, all right? Things turned around, thank you for that. And when you all hit 41, I know the final score is 49, 41, it was over. And they said, LV, if we hook a John Deere tractor to a hay wagon, will you drive us through the parade? I said, I guess I'd better. I'm probably the only one in here who's capable of driving the tractor at that particular point in time. And I won't go into why I was the one that was probably capable. And I just want to reinforce what the board members have said. I know how you feel. I can see it in your face. The community, the Strasburg community, the county community, how uplifting it was to have that accomplishment. Congratulations, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
I have 2 words to say. Go Ravens.
That it?
Good job, guys.
Thanks for the t-shirt.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, are you kidding? Are you kidding?
I've been too busy. I can't
Ole Miss? Am I? My daughter teaches at Ole Miss, so that's why, yeah. That's why I'm an Ole Miss. Yeah, that's why I told Dr. Shepard, I have to be close.
When's Virginia Tech play?
Next year? Next year? Next year?
Players that are not playing. It must be something really neat. Like I never got to do that. So
Item 2.6 on the agenda is a pre-budget public input on budget for fiscal year 2027. No one signed up to speak. So then we proceed to the next item, which is 2.7. Public and staff comment on agenda items and non-agenda items. The Shenandoah County School Board welcomes public comment from Shenandoah County residents, parents, or guardians, as well as from current students and employees of Shenandoah County Public Schools. School board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting or the hearing. There are certain rules that apply to this. One is time. Each speaker may speak for up to 3 minutes. All comments should address a matter related to Shenandoah County Public Schools. Complaints regarding division employees should be directed to the school principal or the appropriate school division official. Decorum. The school board expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with other views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire school board and not to one individual board member, to the superintendent, to staff members, nor to the audience. Speakers will not engage in personal attacks. You have signed up to speak. There will be 2 speakers. If a speaker would like to present written comments to the school board, a copy should be provided to the school board clerk as the speaker approaches the podium to speak. The first one to speak is Devin Ross. You're up.
Hi. All right. Hi, guys.
Good evening. My name is Devin Ross, and I'm a 1997 alumni of Stonewall Jackson High School, former North Fork Middle School cafe employee, and I live in District 2. My child is a current student at Stonewall Jackson High School. I would first like to give my sincere congratulations to our newest school board members. As many of you know, I've been a face in the crowd and have been following the race closely. My hat is off to anyone willing to step up to the plate when it comes to leading the children in our county. In my opinion, it takes courage, logic, empathy, determination, and of course the willingness to work together as a strong team to make a successful school board. So thank you all for answering that call. Today is January 8th. Only 8 days into the new year. I felt compelled to stand before you tonight and speak about my expectations for this board as a parent in this county whose child you are leading. I think it is impossible to ignore the several ongoing legal matters the school board is facing, as I've also been a face in that crowd and in those rooms as well. Every week, negative articles are posted on social media in regards to several of those sitting on this panel this evening. It's very hard for me to read those articles at times due to the negativity of it all. I'm often left feeling saddened and confused about how things have come this far and what can be done to repair the damage that has been caused in the past. As a parent paying attention, I was shocked to see that after only 8 days into the new year, negative social media posts from members on this board are already being circulated on Facebook, labeling fellow board members as back scratchers in back rooms. This is very concerning not only to me, but to many others in the community who saw this post. In my opinion, this is not the way or to set the stage for a successful reorganization. My question is, well, how do we expect our children to act with integrity toward one another when the panel elected to guide them are, in my opinion, not capable of demonstrating the same model? Voted officials should lead by example, especially those who are elected to represent and lead our children, the most vulnerable and impressionable in our community. It's 2026. If the last several years have taught us anything, it would be how words matter and how words can come back to haunt us, myself included, as I'm not immune to mistakes or poor decisions. We do not need another scandal or tit-for-tat school board. What I request as a taxpayer and a parent from this board is leadership, integrity, care, dialogue, open communication, and most importantly, confidence that this panel will do the right thing by working with one another, not against each other. As a parent and someone paying attention, I'm certainly concerned by seeing this team fighting with one another, especially only after 8 days. I think each one of you hold qualities that are unique, lead from a place of your own moral compass, and are completely capable of success if only the qualities were used wisely with teamwork. There is still plenty of time to turn this around, and I hope to see more cooperation moving forward. Remember your oaths and what you represent. Realize parents, teachers, and children are watching, and we owe it to our children to do better. In 2026, let's leave the gloves off and the egos at the door. I do wish you all the best, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the school board can accomplish. And thank you for your service, and thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you. Speaker number 2, Catherine Kaufman from Woodstock.
Good evening, Dr. Shepherd and school board members. My name is Catherine Kaufman. I live in Woodstock. My late husband Milton and I had a combined total of over 60 years serving the students of Shenandoah County as public school educators. In the 58 years I've been a tax-paying resident of Shenandoah County, I have seen many dedicated school board members such as yourselves unselfishly serve our students. Here are just a few of their names. Florence Young, Dr. Thomas Burke, Reverend W.W. Pendleton, Don Sager, Elizabeth Cottrell, Gerald Kennedy, Ralph Boserman, Carolyn Long, Nathaniel Kirkland, Tom Linsky, C.J. Borden, Gordon Bayless, James Fitzsimmons, Steve Schaefer, Larry Helsley, Doug Arthur, Evelyn Berner, Lisa Curry. These are just naming a few. The common thread these past school board members shared was that the public didn't know or care if they were Republicans, Democrats, or independents. They put aside their differences, problem solving and reaching consensus, all in the best interests of our students, parents, teachers, and staff. I realize, I'm not naive, I realize that politics plays somewhat of a role in running a school system. However, my fear is that national politics and personal agendas are trickling down into the running of Shenandoah County Public Schools. As 2026 begins, I urge you to park your politics outside the door while serving our school system. If you choose not to park your politics, I fear our school board will self-implode. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak who did not sign up? Okay. Item 3 on the agenda is the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the previous meeting, library books, donations, field trips, and so forth. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, we proceed to vote on the motion to approve the consent agenda items as noted. Please indicate your support by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes prevail. The consent agenda is approved. Instructional agenda. Ms. Jennifer Proctor, Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, on school accountability framework information. Thank you, Mrs. Proctor.
Good evening, Chairman, board members, Dr. Shepard. Put this down a little bit. All right. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time because I have a lot of information on the slides that I'm getting ready to share with you. And it's a lot of information. I believe that Ms. Jett also made you copies so that you have those as well. So as we're going through, if you have questions, don't hesitate to stop me and ask because it is a lot of information. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to talk about accreditation and our performance framework. This is just a reminder of what the new framework looks like. If you remember, elementary and middle school and high school have little nuances that are unique to each level. Elementary mastery is 65%, whereas at middle school it's 60%, and at high school it's 50%. And at elementary, growth is 25, middle school growth is 20, and there is no growth for high school. There's just graduation and readiness, and then readiness is 10% at the elementary school and 20% at the middle school. And if you see, those all add up to 100. So the next slide talks about the label that each school gets based on their amount of points. So distinguished is 90 points and above, on track 80 to 89, off track 65 to 79, and needs intensive support is below 65. And if you just look at the bottom row of that slide, you'll notice on off track it says schools will receive additional support from the VDOE, and under needs intensive support, schools will receive more intensive support from the VDOE. We're not 100% sure what all those supports are going to be yet, but I will share with you what I do know when we get to that point of the supports that we are aware of. So with that being said, what does this new framework tell us? The new framework tells us that we're looking at achievement, growth, and readiness, and that schools can also perform well, but also have a subgroup that needs support, and annual results help us identify where targeted improvement is needed. So with that being said, we're going to start with Ashby Lee. We're going to start with our elementary schools. So this is Ashby Lee, and if you remember, for those of you that were here in the fall, I think the new board members were probably in the audience in the fall, but we did look at some of this, but we didn't have our growth. So this includes all of the information that we have on Ashby Lee right now. So you can see their mastery ended up over to the left, there's the totals. So their mastery points ended up at 51.85. Growth ended up at 14.24, and their readiness at 8.88, which gave them a combined score of 74.96, which puts them off track. The next school is W.W. Robinson, and you can see that their mastery was 52, growth 16, readiness 8.66, and again, their cumulative score is a 77.63, which puts them off track. And then we have Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook is a 55 for mastery. I can round that up to 56. Growth about a 15. Readiness about a 9, which comes to a 79.03. Again, puts them off track. However, we also have federal accountability. And federal accountability takes into account subgroups. And so these are the 3 different types of support that can be identified federally. So you can have comprehensive support, which means it's a support for the whole school. The full school is in need of support. You can have additional targeted support, which is intensive support for one student group, or targeted support, which just talks about one student group.
So with that being said, we do have schools that are in targeted support. And so how do we identify who needs targeted support? Well, first of all, that's reviewed annually. So the state looks at this every year. So you can come into TSI and you can go out of TSI, 1 year in, 1 year out. It's not you're in it for so many years. So we look at that each year. And so the process that they use to identify our TSI schools is they look at the lowest performing 5% of the schools statewide by level. So the lowest 5% of our elementary schools, the lowest 5% of our middle schools, and the lowest 5% of our high schools. And they take the highest performing school of those 5% and they use their scores to set the benchmark. And I have examples that I'm gonna show you. So a school is identified, TSI, when a subgroup score is below that benchmark, and it has to be in all 3 content areas, reading, math, and science. Okay? You with me so far? Okay. So here are the thresholds for elementary school. So the overall framework score had to be a 71.8, and then you'll see that the reading performance needed to be a 71.3 or higher, math a 74.51 or higher, and science an 84.25 or higher. So we're going to put that into effect here, and we're going to start with W.W. Robinson. So here's W.W. Robinson's subgroup performances. There are 2 other subgroups that are not on here because they had less than 15 students in that subgroup, so I did not include them, but that is Black and Asian. So these are the subgroups for W.W. Robinson. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our overall performance. That's this box. And in that box, we're looking for a score that is below 71.8. And so you will see that our students with disabilities, that score is a 60.80, so we're below. And our English learners, a 70.80, so we were slightly below there too because we needed a 71.8. So both of those subgroups, we now have to look further. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look to see, does our reading, math, and science performance fall below that benchmark? So our reading benchmark, if you look at that slide, was a 71.3. So for students with disabilities, we did not meet it. Math needed to be 74.51. For students with disabilities, we did not meet it. And for science, it needed to be an 84.25. And again, we did not meet it. So that would be our subgroup that is identified at W.W. Robinson. So now we need to go to the next subgroup, which is our English learners. And again, that's a 70.8. So that's why we got identified. But then in reading, they needed to have a 71.3. Well, we were at a 74. So check, we're good. Because we have that one check mark, that subgroup's automatically eliminated as an issue. That is not a subgroup we have to worry about. We only have to worry about it if it is an X in every single subject, reading, math, and science. But just for this situation, we're going to keep going just so we can look at it. So again, in math, we met it. We were at a 77, we needed a 74. However, in science, we needed an 84, and we were at an 82. That does tell us, for W.W. Robinson, this is another area that we need to just be monitoring and be aware of. However, the state isn't requiring us to do anything specifically for them. But that doesn't mean that as Shenandoah County, we still aren't keeping our eye on that situation. Any questions about that one? All right, we're going to go to the next school, which is Sandy Hook, and we'll do the same thing. So first we're going to look at our overall performance, and in this school, our subgroup areas that got identified were multiple races and students with disabilities. So under multiple races, we met all of the benchmarks. Under students with disabilities, we did not. So again, that's how we identified which subgroups needed to be identified for TSI. Got it? Okay. Yes?
Could you explain the multiple races? Because it looks like we're already split up with Hispanic, white.
Multiple races are students that identify with more than one race. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So W.W. Robinson and Sandy Hook are both TSI schools for students with disabilities. What does this mean? So each identified school develops a targeted plan to improve outcomes for that student group. The plan is based on a needs assessment that looks closely at student data, instruction, and supports. So we will need to do a more deep dive needs assessment into what's happening in those schools with our students with disabilities. Then strategies are selected and they must be evidence-based, proven to support student learning. So we can't just go and say, oh, we like this idea. It has to be something that has evidence-based behind it, research behind it that says that this is a proven strategy. And then the state also gives us funding directly to those schools. Last year it was $50,000 per school. I'm assuming it will be the same amount. We have our webinar next week to find out the nitty-gritty details, but I'm assuming it will be $50,000 again. And then when a school is identified for TSI, its overall accountability rating is then lowered by 1 level. So that means that now W.W. Robinson is needs intensive support and Sandy Hook is needs intensive support. I would like to point out one thing about Sandy Hook. If you remember back on slide 2, I showed you what the labels and the amount of points they needed to be. And so just note that Sandy Hook was actually only 0.97 points away from being on track. And so had they been just a tenth of a point, 1 point higher, they would have only been moved down to off track. So.
Can I ask a question, Ms. Proctor?
Yes.
Do you know what the students with disabilities numbers are for Ashby Lee? Are they, because they're not listed here.
No, I don't have them off the top of my head, but they were able to, they did not meet it in all 3 areas. I'm not sure exactly which area didn't.
I'm just curious to see if that's sort of a weak spot, so to speak, in each of our schools. So. Yes, and so one of the things that we'll talk about a little bit later is what we're doing at each one of our elementary schools, and so that will come out then. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so elementary takeaways. Overall, elementary performance remains consistent. When we look at our scores from last year to this year, we haven't dropped significantly. It's just a different way that we're looking at the data because of the new accountability system. Reading and math growth shows positive trends. We seem to be moving in the right direction. Chronic absenteeism continues to improve at our elementary levels. TSI identification is limited. We only had 1 subgroup at those 2 schools. And early identification enables timely and effective support. So as much as it doesn't feel good to have 2 schools that are targeted, it's also an opportunity to put some supports in place. It's an opportunity to have some money to put some supports in place, and it gives us an opportunity to intervene. So now we're going to talk about our middle schools. So this is North Fork Middle School, and you can see their combined score was an 87.6, which puts them on track. Might note they're only less than 3 points away from being distinguished. Peter Muhlenberg, 86.73, they're on track. And Signal Knob with an 83.61. And then we talk about our, middle schools are on track. We have strong performance in growth and readiness at our middle schools, and we feel like this indicates that we have instructional systems that are working and are in place. So then we have our high schools. Stonewall ended up with a combined score of 101.4, and they're distinguished. Central High School, 94.98, distinguished as well. And Strasburg High School, 105.03, and they're distinguished. And so our high school takeaways are that they're all distinguished. Graduation and post-secondary readiness are areas of strength for our high schools, and we are continue to perform well above regional peers, which I'm going to talk about as well. So here is a snapshot of just Region 4, and I thought this would be really good for you to look at and put it in perspective of all the different schools that are in our region, divisions, and then you can see how those school systems are comparing to ours. Page County, who is probably similar in demographics, theirs looks pretty similar to ours as well. And you can look at that. I don't have anything really to point out, but I just wanted you to have that information so you could refer back to it. But Region 4 does include some of the highest performing divisions in the state, and we consistently appear among the top performers. And this confirms that district systems are working overall. We just know that we need to add some systems and supports in for our elementary schools. So, Region 4 data. So here are some positives that I wanted to share, and I know that I think Dr. Shepard has already shared some of this with you, but I wanted to bring more of this out and bring it to light. So Peter Muhlenberg appeared in the top 5 for growth in math, and North Fork appeared in the top 5 for readiness and chronic absenteeism. And then Peter Muhlenberg also appeared in the top, there's 20 schools here, and they appeared in the top 20, and they're all tied, so they're just alphabetical in this slide. And then when we look at our high schools, our top 5 high schools by total points, you can see that Strasburg was the highest, and then Stonewall came in at 5th there, and so that's pretty exciting information, and I think we've talked about that before, but want to highlight it again. And also then for top 5 and 4-year graduation rate, we have Strasburg High School, and then the top 5 readiness for chronic absenteeism, we have Stonewall. And then on our top 5 for readiness, the 3E overall, we have Stonewall in that category at the top. And then for top 3 in employment, Stonewall falls in that category. And then also for enlistment, Stonewall falls in the top 3 as well. So let's talk about what we're doing to help our elementary schools. So each Friday we have what we call a Friday Focus meeting. And at that Friday Focus meeting, the instructional department all has different schools. We go out to Ashby Lee, W.W. Robinson, and Sandy Hook. And we like to do what we're calling classroom visits to action. So we have things that we're looking for in the classrooms. We're going, we're observing, and then we're coming back together and talking about our takeaways. What did we see in those walkthroughs? What are some things that we need to change immediately? And so we're identifying the instructional needs that need to happen. And then we're also aligning anything that needs to happen from our level at the division that needs to come out and deploy. So if we see something in math, does Ms. Gavello need to come out and help with that? Or if we see something in English, does Mr. Scher need to come out and do that? So then we have planned targeted supports for each school. Why does this matter? Well, it's a faster support. We're able to get in there quickly and see what's happening, and then we're also able to intervene quicker. We have consistent expectations. Because of that, the whole instructional department is on the same page, and we're getting our admin teams on the same page. We have better alignment, and we have stronger instruction. So you'll see there that circle. So we have classroom visits that we do during the week. Then we have a Friday focus meeting. Then we put in any targeted supports that we need. And then we hope to see improved teaching and learning. And then we do the whole cycle again. We're also doing a needs assessment for each one of our schools that are TSI for students with disabilities. We will also be doing that for Ashby Lee. Even though they weren't targeted, we know that it's still a concern, and so we're going to also be looking at Ashby Lee's students with disabilities. And so with us in that endeavor, we have the special ed department that is partnering with us, and so they have deployed their team, and so each school has their own little Friday Focus team that comes out on Friday and works with them. So the next step in our process is really diving into students with disabilities, and that's going to be a really quick turnaround because our application for that $50,000 for each one of those schools is due in February. So we don't have a whole lot of time to get that done, and we need to get in there and see what the problems are and what are the quick wins that we can make and get in there and start working on those things. Any questions on Friday Focus meetings?
I do have a question about the classroom visits.
Yes.
So can you just explain, like, are you going in at different times or different class periods during that Friday? Like one Friday you're in math and the following Friday maybe you're in science. So
Yes, we're going across the board, and each school has identified different things that we're looking for. So across the board, we're looking for alignment. So like when we go in, is the lesson that we're watching, is it aligned to the standards that they're supposed to be teaching? That's one of the first things we do. Some schools have us looking for student engagement. engagement? Are students actually engaged? Is the teacher holding all students to the engagement, or just randomly calling on kids, and so only 5 kids really need to be engaged in the process? And then other schools have us looking at scaffolds. Are there scaffolds in place? And if they are they doing them the way that we would expect them to do them? And so we are taking that data. For us, it's anonymous. We don't put any names with it. The school administrators then do give teachers feedback on what they're seeing. They have a different form that they will give the teacher some information back so that the teacher knows what we're looking for as well.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. So this is also just a recap of, we've talked about this, I believe, earlier in the year as well, but it's talking about using the data to drive our decisions, and it's just a recap of what we're doing for all of our schools in the division. So each quarter we have teacher quarter data disaggregation meetings, and that drives the principals data meetings, which we are actually in the process of doing right now for quarter 2. We actually had some meetings today, and then we follow up then with leadership meetings and things like that. The schools follow up with leadership meetings at their school to kind of recap where they're at with their school improvement plans, where they're at with their data, and then any changes or anything that needs to be shared with the school teams is shared out through that. So, key takeaways. We remain strong overall under Virginia's accountability system. A small number of our schools require targeted subgroup support. Identification leads to resources, planning, and action. As much as it feels not so great, it's not necessarily a bad thing. We need to know who those subgroups are that need extra supports and be able to go in and help and make sure that's not a problem. And progress is monitored and adjusted annually. Questions? I feel like that was a lot of information.
I have a question. What were the trends statewide with this? I mean, I know there were some fears before that a lot of schools were going to fall off, or that, that it wasn't going to help a lot of schools. Was there a lot of movement statewide with regards to how schools were assessed?
So I can't answer statewide, but what I can tell you, the little bit that I do know, it seems as most of the schools that are in off-track or needs intensive support tend to be the elementary schools across the state.
But that didn't change much. I mean, like in terms of that's what was before.
Well, Sandy Hook wouldn't have been identified, I don't think, under the old system. So I think it's just a new way of looking at it. I can't, though, answer if across the state some schools were identified or not. I mean, I have that Region 4 data you can look at. Yeah.
Do you know of any correlation between success and the student population in a building? We all know that, for example, Sandy Hook is 97% capacity, Robinson is 92%, and those on the board who have visited Sandy Hook will tell you it's a little crowded. Is there any correlation between success and the size of the elementary school?
I don't have any data to support that, but what I can tell you is that when I was the principal at W.W. Robinson, I looked for it, and I've looked for it in the last year being at the school board office to find a school that has the same demographics as W.W. Robinson, which is a high number of EL students, 50% poverty, and 1,000 kids. And I can't find another school in the state of Virginia that has similar demographics. So it's really hard for me to compare a school that size to other schools in Virginia that might be close to that size. And it's relative to how big their schools are, if they're overcrowded or not. If they have a big school that can accommodate 1,000 kids, that might be different. I will say from personal experience at Robinson, moving that many teachers out in a positive direction is a difficult thing. It's a lot there's a lot of staff. W.W. Robinson has more staff members than any of our high schools. That's a lot. And Sandy Hook would probably be knocking on the door because they're just as big.
Okay.
Almost.
Other questions from Ms. Proctor?
I
Mike?
got one question, but it may be, I was planning on it later. The trailer showed up at Sandy Hook yesterday and today. I know the plumbing's not gonna be hooked up anytime soon, but do we have any kind of forecast as far as like electrical, when we could get the kids in there and try to relieve some class size inside the school?
So I believe there is a setup meeting tomorrow morning, and that should give us more information on when those modular units will be completed. Is that correct?
Yep.
Is the plan to get teachers and kids in there before the plumbing is installed?
Yes, in the likelihood that it will be not classes, but more teachers who have small groups is more likely than moving classes out there because of the restroom situation, the plumbing.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just one more question, sorry. I know that there's a national shortage of special education teachers. How does that factor into this?
Well, I mean, I don't have any data to say that it factors in, but of course it's impacting our students with disabilities because we may have teachers that are not fully credentialed to be a special ed teacher. And so their knowledge, their professional knowledge isn't as much as a teacher that might be, but it also runs true for classroom teachers. We have the same issue in our classrooms where we have teachers that are filling in as teachers that may not have a 4-year teaching degree, or they're going through some alternative program, and so their professional knowledge isn't as high. So it's really important that administrators, when they're placing students, also think about that. Where are teachers' strengths and how can we work to everybody's strengths? But it's definitely a factor. Yeah.
Thanks.
And on that note, the support that's coming in, funding helps, but what personnel does that provide? If there aren't any personnel to be had, I mean, are there other support specialists that come in?
So the $50,000 can't be really used for people. You can use it for materials, you can use it for professional development, you can use it for, I'm not 100% sure if we can use it for after-school tutoring, we'd have to check on that one, but it's usually used for buying materials, programs, professional development, those types of things. The state doesn't send anybody to the schools. The way that they supported us in these programs prior was that we had a liaison from the state that worked with us, and so we had to present what we were doing as a division to them. Dr. Shepard is always really good about trying to get them to come out to our school system and come into our schools to really kind of give us boots on the ground feedback about what we're seeing. And so the lady that we had the last couple years, which I hope is the same lady this year, she has always come out when we've asked. It's just not always been on our timeline. It's been on their timeline because we're not the only school division they're supporting. And so if you look at that one slide of all of the schools that are in needs intensive support, I don't know how many people they deploy out, but if she's the only one for our region, she's going to be pretty busy.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And if you will remember, we had 2 middle schools that were in TSI. Was that 2 or 3 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and both of them are now on track and well within on track. So, TSI is just really a short time, and what we did with that money, the $50,000, is professional development for our teachers.
Yes.
To piggyback on that conversation, I know last year we had talked about a different pay scale for the SPED teachers, and you came up with a stipend. I can't recall, did we approve that stipend?
We did not, but that's going to be a recommendation again this year.
Do we still believe that may entice some of the teachers that are certified to teach SPED to come back into the SPED classroom?
Well, I don't know about all of the divisions that surround us. I'm going to answer your question in a minute. There are many divisions around us that offer the stipend, so my fear is that we will lose our special ed teachers to other divisions who pay that stipend. Do I believe that There will be teachers who have the special ed endorsement that will come back to special ed if they're teaching math or English or something else, possibly. And I think as teachers get closer to retirement, they think about those ways that they can maximize their income so that they can get their 3 high years. And that would be great to have experienced teachers move from content area to special ed, because we're getting the best of the best in that area.
Thank you.
Well, last December, Shenandoah County High Schools ranked among Virginia's top performers. And we look forward to seeing the headline reading all Shenandoah County schools.
Me too.
Okay.
All right.
Good. I think it'll happen.
I do too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Shepard, initial fiscal year 2027 budget meeting.
Thank you, Derek. This is my absolute favorite time of the year, budget season. Can I get some support for that? So the information that I'm going to present tonight does not tell what my budget initiatives are for this year. We had our pre-budget public hearing this evening, and we had no one who spoke. So I was hoping we would get some input from the community on what they would like to see in our budget for this year. We will have an opportunity for conversation at the school board work session on January the 26th, I believe, which is a Monday. So looking forward to that. And then you will see my proposal at the February 12th meeting, along with a draft budget book. So the information that you're going to get tonight is just background information that will help you make decisions on the fiscal year 2027 budget for this year. So please feel free to stop me if you have any questions. I always start our budget presentation with our division goals, our mission, and our vision. So while I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these slides, I will, leave a few seconds for you guys to read them, because we have a pretty hefty agenda tonight. So, and I think you have a copy of this presentation in front of you. And relating to Chairman Vance's remark earlier, we want all of our schools in Shenandoah County to be the best of the best, and that is reflective of our vision. So hopefully all of them will be on track or distinguished this coming year in our beliefs. So enrollment information. There is a downward trend of enrollment in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And Shenandoah County is no different. You will see over the last 12 or 13 years that we've had a decrease in our enrollment. The dark blue number is K-12 and the lighter blue number is pre-K-12. But you will notice that we've had a declining trend. We saw a small uptick in 23, 24, and then another uptick in 24, 25. But you'll notice that we had about a 48 student decrease here this current school year. And one of the things that attribute to that, I'm looking for my notes, is that we had a really high senior class graduate last year and a really small kindergarten class enter. So we, from our senior class, there were 75 less kindergarten students that entered this year than graduated last year. So that is one of the reasons for our decline, and that was 75 students while we only lost 48. That could be one of the reasons that our enrollment has declined. The next slide again is just the same information presented a different way. We take two measures of our student enrollment. We do a September 30th enrollment mark, and then we do another one in March. And you'll see that usually always, our March membership is a little less than what we measured September 30th. And our number for this year is 5,492 students. Our number last year was 5,540 students. And this information, the next slide is enrollment trends in our elementary schools. And you will notice over the last 3 years, they have pretty much remained steady. There was a slight decrease at Sandy Hook Elementary School from 23-24 to 24-25. But otherwise, it's pretty steady. Our middle schools. And then our high schools. And you will notice there was a pretty significant decrease at Central High School from last year to this year. They had a really large 12th grade class that graduated last year. And the 9th grade class that came up was not as large. So birth rate. You will notice in 2020, we had an uptick in birth rate at 517 births. While we may have enrolled some of those students this year, we may enroll some of those students next year as well. So we should see a slight uptick in our kindergarten class next year. But then you'll see in 2022, which would be the 2027 kindergarten class, there was a significant decrease in births. And then here's just another way to look at that information. So what are some of the other things that impact budget? Well, our free and reduced lunch eligibility, our low socioeconomic students, impacts our budget. Sometimes we need to provide additional supports for the students who may not have the same experiences at home as their peers when they get to school. But you'll notice there's been a significant uptick in our low socioeconomic or our free and reduced lunch eligibility from 2021 to 2025, 2026. English language learners, over the last number of years, that has increased. We went from 627 English language learners last year to 651. And if you'll remember, we added 4 or 5 EL teachers this past year because of requirements from the Department of Education. Our English learners speak 16 languages, and the most common is Spanish, followed by Amharic. Is that right? And then here's our students with disabilities, or 504s. We have a slight uptick from 861 students with disabilities last year to 897 this year. And you'll notice on the right-hand side of this chart that our students with 504 plans are decreasing. My information is different than the information that Ellen will present. I believe it's next month. My information comes from September 30th. Hers comes from December 5th. So there's always a little variation in the numbers, but we take our snapshots at different times of the year. So
the 504 declining and the SPED increasing, is there any correlation there?
I don't think so. I think that we are paying particular attention to our 504s on whether is it really a 504 plan that is needed, or can it be a health plan. Like if you're if you're allergic to bee stings. Do you really need a 504, or do you just need a health plan in order to get a shot if you're stung by a bee? So I think we're taking great consideration into to why we're writing those 504 plans. Do you have anything to add?
The only thing I would add is one of the initiatives that we've done this year is looking at the number of kids who might have both types of documents simultaneously, 504 and IEP, and in situations where it was feasible to embed it just into the IEP, we've done that to eliminate the 504 plan. That doesn't work in every situation, but when it can, it makes the paperwork side and the process side more streamlined for the teachers and for the parents. And so we have done that. That may be part of the data picture. I don't know that it's the full data picture though.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So personnel, I am going to go through these fairly fast. This is the same information that Linda Hodges presented in September, I believe. But I just want to bring your attention to it because it does have budget impacts. Where do we want to put our money when we talk about budget? So our teacher retention rate was up this year, which is fantastic. It went from 82% from 23-24 to 87%. So our turnover was only 13%. I wish it was below 10, but 13% is much better than what we have seen over the last 5 or 6 years. So teacher retention is up, and we hope that that continues. And then if you look at the experience of our teaching staff, most of our teaching staff, not quite 50% of our teachers have 11 or more years of experience. So 50% of our staff have 11 or more years of experience. The other approximately 50% of our staff have 10 years or less of experience. So when you look at who is leaving SCPS, you'll notice it's our teachers who have more years of experience. 11 years plus. So 29% of the teachers who left us had 11 to 20 years of experience, and 32% had 21 years plus. And who is coming? We're getting the teachers who have 0 to 3 years of experience coming to SCPS. About 50% of the teachers that we hired have 0 to 3 years of experience. On the previous slide, you'll notice that about 7% of our new teachers previously taught in Shenandoah County. So they went somewhere else and they come back. Last year, that number was 20%. So we always love to welcome previous SCPS employees back to Shenandoah County Public Schools. And you will also notice that we had graduates return to be teachers. So we had 6 at the northern campus, 6 at the central campus, and then 5 at the southern campus. Always love to have SCPS graduates as employees. And we are in collaboration with many divisions that surround us in Laurel Ridge and Germanna Community College to actually grow our own teachers. So we have, I'm making a guess at this, but I think it's 6 slots for students in 11th grade to attend this lab school that will get the students an associate's degree. When they graduate from high school, they'll need 2 additional years to go to a 4-year university to either be an elementary school teacher or a special ed teacher. So this year we sent 2 students, one from Central and one from Strasburg, and next year we have more applicants than we have slots, which is a great place to be in. And hopefully other divisions that surround us will send their number of people so we can capture their slots as well. So we'll see how that works out for us. But that's a great opportunity because the first 2 years are free for the students. And with grants and scholarships, then the next 2 years will be low cost or at no cost for our students. So looking forward to continuing that.
Those students have to return to the school district,
They do, I think it's for 2 years.
is what I
I
thought.
think it's for 2 years.
Thank you.
Mhm. And then we filled 98 teacher positions. Total new to SCPS was 84. And then I believe the last of the slides from Linda's presentation in September was here are the vacancies that were unfilled as of September the 5th.
Are we gonna get an updated list of the unfilled vacancies?
We can, yes. So the next slide is one that I always hesitate to put up because I'm telling teachers they can go to make more money than Shenandoah County. However, you know, in full transparency, I think it's important. If you look at Shenandoah County, here's our salary scale for this current school year for our teachers. And then right beside of the column beside is Frederick County, and then beside that is Rockingham. Frederick County, until this past year, we were higher than them on the first scale. Now they're slightly higher than us, and they remain slightly over our pay for I only went to 19 years of experience, but through the 30-year scale, they remain slightly higher than us. But Rockingham, they actually, I think it's at step 6, year 6, that we actually start outpacing Rockingham County. And when we get over to the insurance part of this presentation, you'll see that our insurance is better than Rockingham County's as well. Next slide. So if you look at our health insurance, we have made concerted efforts over the last 4.5 years to make sure that our health care is affordable. And if you will look at our employee only, which is circled there, Shenandoah County is the lowest for employee only at $55 per month. You have Frederick County at about $92, and then Rockingham at $115. Employee plus child, we're in the mix. Employee plus children, we're still a lot higher than Frederick County, but a little higher than Rockingham. Employee plus spouse, lower than both Frederick and Rockingham, and then employee plus family, $655, and Frederick is $630, and Rockingham is $697. So we're in the mix. So we've made great gains, and thanks to the school board and the board of supervisors, who have some key members out there, for helping us do that, because I think that makes a difference, because that's real money in people's pockets. And then here's, this is just the last 3 years and where we've come with healthcare. And the two I would really like to point out is the employee plus children and the employee plus family. 4.5 years ago, that premium per month was $1,249. So $1,250 per month premium. That's a house payment. And now we're at $655. We have made great gains in those areas. So budget process and information. So there are codes of Virginia that pertain to budget, and here are the codes. The first code says that the superintendent must prepare a needs-based budget for the school board, and then the next code that I'm going to say is the school board has to send a budget to the board of supervisors by the first day of April each year. So that, then we backwards map our schedule to make sure that we have the board of supervisors a budget by that time. And I think we're going to have it to them mid-March this year. The calendar comes in a slot or two. Oh, here it is. So if you look, and I'll just highlight a few of these. December 17th, Governor Youngkin introduced the 2026-2020 biennial budget. And towards the end of this presentation, I have a few highlights of what he has proposed. So then tonight, you guys hear a little bit of pre-budget information, but and then next week, the General Assembly convenes. So what's going to happen is the General Assembly is going to take the governor's proposed budget and make some amendments. So the House will make some amendments and the recommendations, and the Senate will make some recommendations, and then they'll get together and decide what the budget's going to look like. Yes. What you'll notice down towards the bottom of this slide is Shenandoah County School Board approves a budget on March the 12th. Well, the General Assembly is going to conclude sometime mid-March, so likely after our meeting on the 12th. So the likelihood that we do not know what our state funds are before you guys have to vote on the budget is pretty high. So, but there'll be multiple opportunities to talk about budget, talk about what you would like to see in the budget until March the 12th, so over the next couple of months. The first opportunity will be Monday, January the 26th, and then, like I said, the budget draft book will be available on February the 12th. There'll be another opportunity to discuss it on February the 23rd, and then the school board will approve the budget on the 12th. The budget approval on the 12th, there's actually another opportunity after that, after the Board of Supervisors comes back to the school board and says, this is what we're going to be able to fund you. There's another opportunity to approve the budget after that. And that is April the 27th. Any questions about the calendar? It'll be a busy few months. So sources of revenue. So this is the information from this current budget. Just wanted to give you a flavor of what it looked like. Federal, about $3.5 million, which is about 4% of our budget. State is about about $53 million. The county is a little less than $35 million. And then other is money that the school division collects from like rental of our facilities and things like that. So that's about $1.5 million. But read the little bullet at the bottom that says the funds do not include the capital improvement, county technology, or food services. So those are excluded in this chart here and over the next several slides that I will present. So if you look at the federal revenue over the last number of years, you'll see that it has fluctuated. And that is because we've received federal, one-time federal funds like CARES funds or other funds over a number of years, and we didn't get them other years. So you'll see that fluctuation there in revenue. So the next slide is about state funds. So how are state funds determined? And one of the ways that state funds are determined is based on our local composite index. And that local composite index equals or means the locality's ability to pay. And it is based on 3 factors. The true value of real property, which is weighted at 50%, the adjusted gross income, which is weighted at 40%, and then taxable retail sales, which is weighted at 10%. So 2 years ago, let's say 2022 to 2024, our local composite index was lower. And then in 24-26, it increased by 4 percentage points. And we received about $2 million less from the state than if that LCI wouldn't have increased by 4%. We just received our LCI numbers for this 2026 to 2028, and it reduced by 2.06%. So the anticipation is that we will get additional state funds. And I have notes. There were, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, total of 134 divisions. And of those 134 divisions, 37 divisions decreased. We were one of the divisions that decreased by 2%. 9 divisions are capped, 1 division remained the same, and the other 87 divisions increased. So what I am hoping for is that because we were only one of 37 divisions that decreased, we will receive more state revenue than the 87 divisions that increased. Now, we won't know that information until later, but you know, that's my hope. And you can see here, while on the chart, you can see the true property value has increased over the last 3 times that they've taken these measures. Our LCI still decreased. You can see that our adjusted gross income increased a little bit the last time, but it decreased a little bit this most recent time. And then the retail sales has remained pretty stagnant. Any questions about this slide? It's a lot of information that we really have, we as a school division have no control over. And there's no way that we can guesstimate what it's going to be. December is always a great time. Kaylin and I look forward to December so we know what our LCI, was it November or December? November. So we know what our LCI is going to be. So, and this will remain into effect this year and next year as well. But our state funds is our, based on local composite index, incentive programs, categorical program accounts, and lottery funds. And then here's our state funding. So you see increases over the last number of years. And then our county operational funds. So this is where we get our money. So where do we spend our money? And I sound like a broken record because we spend most of our money on people. So 61.1% is personnel and 26.7% is benefits. So that's 70, 80, almost 90% of our money is spent on people. And people make a difference. Teachers have the #1 impact on student achievement. We know that. And 75% of our budget is expended on instruction. These numbers have remained constant. I've probably not identical, but close to identical over the last 4 or 5 years. We value teachers and we value instruction. That's where we're going to make the biggest difference. And then I would highlight a few of the governor's proposals. For the 2026 to 2028 budget proposals or the upcoming budgets, they'll fully fund the state share of re-benchmarking, which we should receive additional state funds for that. He has recommended a 2% salary increase for this fiscal year, 2% salary increase for next fiscal year. There is money in there to expand the child care subsidy program for children, preschool children. And then additional funds for school construction grants. Now my understanding of those school construction grants is you have to be ready, shovel ready, for that money. And then,
I'm sorry, by when would that be?
So, they're going to seek additional, they're going to have additional opportunities for grant funding in March. So I don't know that we'll make it to that point, but hopefully there will be other opportunities available in the near future. So if he's put additional funds in for the 26 fiscal year 27, then that does not start until July 1st. So there should be some opportunities after July 1. And then, so a budget amendment for this current school year is there was a reduction to the state budget due to decreased enrollment across the state. So you noticed that we had a decrease in student enrollment. We anticipated that, so it's not going to hurt our, we're not going to have to save money in order to be able to afford that decrease. We're okay. But you'll see the bullet below that is a 2% budget for our bonus for employees for fiscal year 2026, which is this school year, and it would have to be paid out before the end of May. And while this isn't finalized, a lot of times this is proposed and it ends up being maybe $1,000 budget for all employees or whatever. But we'll keep our ear to the ground to see where this lands at the end of the budget cycle, because a lot of times the General Assembly will convene without passing a budget, and sometimes we don't have that information until May or June. So hopefully this won't be delayed, because it takes a few weeks in order to process a bonus. So
We had that bonus last year as well, didn't we?
I think it was a flat $1,000.
Flat 1,000, I remember that.
yeah. But I think it started out as a percentage, or maybe it did, it might have started out as a percentage. So. And then just finally, the last slide is, this is what we're going to look forward to over the next 4 months. And again, like I said, we do not know when the General Assembly concludes, and we're going to have a new governor, so I don't know, if she'll approve the budget right away or whether it'll be a delay. So it'll be interesting to see how things fall out this year. Any questions?
I do. Going back to the whole school construction grants, I have a couple of questions. One is, what exactly do we need to have? I mean, what is considered ready to go? I mean, is it just pass, a decision? Do we need to have blueprints? What exactly do we have? And then also, where do we stand with that? Because we were going to be having that vote back in the fall, and then we kicked it to today. I don't think it's in the action items for today. So what are we doing with this?
Yeah, so I am presenting information, I think that's next on the agenda. I'm presenting information on the major capital projects. And then at the January 26th meeting, we'll have a conversation about it. And then at the February 12th meeting, we'll vote, and then we'll send that vote on to the Board of Supervisors for their consideration. I'm going to ask Kaylin to talk a little bit about the construction funds, because she has done some pretty in-depth looking at what we may be able to apply for, and if we'll qualify. So, Kaylin, Ms. Cable.
So to answer your most immediate question about what is shovel-ready, that means having architectural plans complete, ready to break ground, construction contract awarded. We are ready to go. We are just awaiting funding.
So we're not going to get there?
Probably not by March.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do we still have drawings available for, say, Sandy Hook Elementary School or W.W. Robinson? Probably not that one because of the size, or Ashby Lee, to where we could have those updated?
So we have all of our plans, and I think some of them are digitized, but and it depends. If we're doing renovations or expansions, we'll use those plans. If we're doing a new elementary school, it's going to depend on where we put that new elementary school in the topography of the land. So, it'll depend if we can recycle those drawings, because if we like the layout of Sandy Hook Elementary School, then we may want, we may want to copy that somewhat, but all topography is going to be a little different, and we'll have to make changes for that.
That was more of what I was getting at, is that could expedite the process if we already have a set of drawings in a school that we like, and we know where we want to put it. Could it be updated to today's standards and put out quicker than coming up with a whole new design?
Yeah, I think any architect is going to, and by the way, the two architects that we have been working with, they're working together. It's Dale Cupp from Miller Cupp Architects and John Mather from Mather Daly Architects, and they're both firms out of Harrisonburg. They will be here on January the 26th to answer any questions that you have about the information that I'm going to share here briefly.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
I guess I got a question. I'm just curious, being a bottom line person, this is really good information, and the way it's presented, the way it is, and very interesting in numbers. I'm just curious, and I don't know if it would help or not, but it would help if a copy of this would go to each board supervisor, just to kind of be educated with the bottom line numbers.
We could do that.
I mean, it is interesting going through this, and I didn't know if that would be possible.
Certainly. Any other questions or thoughts?
Well, as foreshadowed from the prior discussion, we go to item 5.2, information on potential major capital projects. Dr. Shepard.
Thank you. So was it November, we discussed our major capital projects, and there were, we talked about a new elementary school, we talked about renovation and or expansion of our 3 elementary schools, Sandy Hook, W.W. Robinson, and Ashby Lee. We talked about CTE and what we wanted to do there. We talked about a new CTE facility in the center of the county. We talked about renovation of our existing triplet tech, and then we also talked about possibly the renovation of another property. So I have high-level information on that, which high level means a 30,000 foot view and estimated cost. And I do want to preface this as it is in no particular order. So as I move through this presentation, I'm not preferring one over the other. It's just the order that they're in. And what I handed out earlier was the information from Dale Cupp and John Mather that they provided for us. So I may reference a page number in here, but you're welcome to glance through the book as I go through this presentation. So we talked about this earlier, but I thought it would be nice to have a one-stop shop if you needed information on enrollment and what we're wanting to do with any of our facilities. So I am not going to review this information again, but it's here if you need it. This is a slide that I did not talk about or put in the budget presentation. And this is the same slide. I verified it with the county last week or 2 weeks ago. And this information is up to date. So here are the housing developments that are on the books, and here are the number of homes that we can expect. And it's a little less than half a kid per home. Lemuel Hancock is rerunning that information for us. It was 0.44 students per home and 0.46 for a townhome. And he's gonna rerun that information to make sure that's still accurate. But you can see at Strasburg, there are 320 homes on the books, which would bring us approximately 145 students. That those students would range from K-12. We have 873 homes in the Woodstock area, and that would be approximately 395 students. And again, that's K-12. And 30 homes in Edinburgh, which would be 14 students that would also be at the central campus. So just information for you as we talk through this. So if you look at the first proposal here, is the potential new elementary school. And I do want to note that this is the county property, that the current, what's on there? There is the Frisbee golf course and a few other, there's a track and a few other things there. Where this school has been placed is not indicative of where it would be placed. It's just there for as an indication that for demonstration purposes only. They have not taken a deep dive, the architects have not taken a deep dive in where that final location would be. So I don't want anyone to believe that we're taking the space that is currently the Frisbee golf course. So, but the project estimate for a new elementary school, I think, is right in line with what we've been saying over the last little bit, is between $40 and $50 million. Dale Cupp and John Mather, the architects, have said that, hey, it's going to be about $45 million. Our 35,000 foot view says it's going to be about $45 million. It's going to be a 90,000 square foot building at about $400 per square foot. And it's going to meet VDOT requirements. It's going to have site, that includes site, roadways and parking. It has an equipment budget. There's a contingency funds in there, and so on and so forth. So just, you know, so a new elementary school would be, according to the architects, around $45 million. Sandy Hook Elementary School, you've seen this information before. It was built in 1970. This information was updated for this year's information. We have 825 students. We're at 96.15% capacity. This slide you've seen before. These are the things, the overall condition of Sandy Hook Elementary School. And then what Miller Cup did is what you see in red there. What the architects did, because it's two architects, Miller Cup and Mather Daly, what you see in red there would be additions to Sandy Hook if we did the renovation / expansion. And the project estimate for the renovation / expansion would be between $14 million and $18 million. And their estimate was $15,085,000. And you can see all of the bulleted items that it would include. And it would add approximately 11 classrooms, and I think it was 4 to 6 resource rooms, and some covered walkways and so on and so forth. So you can kind of see where they've added anything in red. And I know that's difficult to see or read, but it may be easier to read in this. If it's not, you're welcome to my binder, which has larger pages, but I'll need this back at some point. It has the 11 by 17. You're welcome to take this and look at it.
Do we know, or do you know right offhand, the average size of an elementary school in the state of Virginia?
I do not. I don't think there's an average size. Some school divisions have chosen to do 350 student elementary schools. Shenandoah County has chosen to do larger elementary schools because we have the campus model. So it just depends on the locality and what they're interested in doing. So here's what a renovation / expansion of Sandy Hook would look like. W.W. Robinson is next, and we're at 90% capacity with 1,034 students. There's the overall condition, and you can see in red where the architects have added some classrooms and a new gym space. Sandy Hook Elementary School has access to 2 gym areas. W.W. Robinson has access also to 2 gym areas, but one is much smaller than a regular sized gym. So what the architects have recommended is that we turn that one gym into multiple classrooms, and we add a more standard sized gymatorium with a stage that could allow some performances.
Looking at these renovation drawings,
Mm-hmm.
it looks like the renovation that was just done on the school offices would be renovated all over again.
There would be some changes there, yes. Yes, and as a matter of fact, they have bumped out that area, the office, where the office area is, they bumped it out a little bit, yes.
So that money would just go to,
So, and you'll see there, the preliminary budget is 18,800,000. And you can look at the list of the things that it would include. And again, this is a high level view. It's not, we are not getting into the details at this point. It's too soon to do that.
Now, have they expressed whether we're gonna need additional parking for either one of those schools, or?
Yeah, so they have parking allowances in all of their proposals.
Okay.
Yeah, which is in this document here.
Okay.
Yeah.
just asking, and I don't know if you know, but like Sandy Hook, if they were to expand that, where would they put the additional parking?
So, I don't think he included it in his drawing. So one of the things that we were talking about as we were doing the tours with the architects was the play space at Sandy Hook. I'm trying to orient myself here, is across from the students have to cross the parking lot to get to the play space. So is there a place where you can actually move the playground where it would be safer for students? And so that's one of the things we discussed. We also, one of the areas could be that the ball field that's on the left, but then you would have to relocate that ball field, so the softball field. But when we get into the details, that's when we would know where we put the playground space, where we put the additional parking, because we own that space there, and we also own the space to the left. We have another, we'll say it's 40 acres, but I don't think it's quite 40 acres. Behind those ball fields there, you see them. And then we have Ashby Lee, who is not lagging far behind. 90% capacity. They're at 80, almost 90%, 89.88% capacity with 693 students. And one of the things that they included in Ashby Lee's is, again, another gymatorium, because Ashby Lee now has 771 kids that go to one gym. They do not even have a second gym, and their number of students is slightly less than WW and Sandy Hook, but they have a significant number of students who are accessing one recess area or phys ed area. And again, here you can notice the red spaces, which is the additional classrooms, resource areas. And if you look at this space too, Mr. Rickard, I think you'll notice that they've moved the offices to the front of the building to the left. So it would, while I don't think it would, all of the work that was just done on those front entrances, I think there will, some of that will be undone in order to accommodate this new space. And they'll have when they come on January the 26th, they'll have larger pictures that, you know, bigger size pictures that it's easier to see what they plan on doing. And here is the cost for doing that. The project estimate is between 12 and 16 million, and their estimate is 14.2 million. And the number of classroom spaces, WW and Sandy Hook were around 10 or 11 classroom spaces with, you know, 6 to 8 resource rooms. Ashby Lee's, it's a lot less. It's about half of that, 5 to 6 classroom spaces with some resource rooms and a gymnatorium.
Am I reading this correctly, that then this renovation also fixes any problems that the schools have right now that need to be fixed regardless?
It would be a massive renovation, so it would include HVAC, it would include all of those, yes, electrical, plumbing. Yes, some of the things that you're going to see on Mr. Hensley's list this evening for capital improvement.
And are we also going to get an idea of how that would be done if we do the renovations, you know, because obviously we can't do it while the kids are in school. I mean, is that just going to mean it takes longer over time, or is that going to be, you know, temporary classrooms? I mean, how is that going to be done?
So, you know, that's all in the details, and that comes, you know, when we actually contract with an architect to do this work for us. They'll have a schedule, and the likelihood that that schedule, the work is done over the summer is pretty high, because we don't want to disrupt instruction in order to do this work. So while they may work some evenings and weekends, a lot of the heavy lift will be done during May, June, July, and the first part of August.
And all three at the same time?
It could be. It just depends on who, which company, contractor actually bids on the projects. And larger contractors have the capacity to be able to do more than one school at a time.
We've had a hard time in this county in the past, though, doing that much work all at one time, correct?
I believe we did all three. So the last project was the last large project was the renovation of the 3 high schools, and they were done at the same time, but I don't remember, I wasn't here, so I don't know how that worked. I know with our, when we added the new front entrances, that was considered a small renovation project. So when you're spending in the tens of millions of dollars, you get larger companies who are interested in bidding on these projects. So we may get a different size company that's able to, that has more capacity.
The timeline, though, I don't think it's feasible to do all this work over the summer. I mean, even when they did the vestibules and renovations, there were kids in the schools at the time, so. Yeah. I think we all need to realize that it will have some impact.
Yeah, and there's possibility to do the work evenings and weekends, or even during the day. But when I've worked on construction projects previously, we worked really well with the contractor and said, we're SOL testing the whole month of May. So if you can do another project during that time, that would be wonderful. And they were always very accommodating.
If I'm correct here, if my math is approximately correct, we're talking about similar price tags, right?
So this slide actually, I think, answers your question. So this is a very busy slide, so I'm going to try to work through it. If you look at the blue title, it says new elementary and renovation of existing elementary schools. So renovation means only renovation, not expansion. So new elementary school and renovation. That would be at the very bottom. You'll see the estimated cost is between $59.5 million to $81.5 million. And then if you look at their the facilities improvement options that the architects provided, they gave specific dollar amounts. So if you look at their preliminary budget estimated cost, their estimated cost for all of those projects, so it would be a new elementary school and the renovations without expansion of Sandy Hook, WW, and Ashby Lee, it would be a total of $70 million. $70,325,000. So that would do the new elementary schools and the renovations without expansion. So if you look on the right side of the vertical line, you will see that the expansion/renovation of elementary schools, and this includes the expansion, the total price of that would be, it's the very bottom line, $47,775,000. So there's your two numbers that you, and that would give us approximately, with Sandy Hook, W.W. Robinson, and Ashby Lee, that would give us approximately 28 additional classrooms across the division. And don't ask me how many classrooms the new elementary school has in it, because I don't know. I know we said to plan for a 700 to 750 student elementary school. Any question about this busy slide?
On this busy slide, is there anywhere that shows the new elementary school total and just renovations of the elementary schools total? I'm not seeing it, but I may be overlooking it.
So,
The new school is 45 million.
no.
And then the renovations.
So if you look at the new elementary school at the top here, the preliminary budget estimate is 45 million, right there.
Right.
And then if you look at the renovation without expansion, there's those numbers. So they're there individually, just not as a total. They're not totaled at the bottom.
So renovations would be 25,325,000 approximately. So just over 25.
Yes.
So is that the number we're looking at the bottom, 70,325,000?
For both together.
So we just need to get rid of the
Yes, if you just
that's
abstract
for
the
the
new school,
expansion
then
and-
that, yeah, well,
but we
that's,
want to take out the word expansion. Was that word expansion put in there by mistake?
Yes.
right, yes, you're right. Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. The expansion is on the other one, the other
Yes.
side.
Sorry about that. All right, I'm going to move on to CTE. Are you ready? Career Technical Education. So Triplet Tech is currently a 50,000 square feet building. It was built in '66. There was a small addition in '75. There have been no major renovations over the last 50 years. Here, we asked the architects to do 3 different scenarios for us. One of them was the renovation expansion of the existing Triplet Tech. What would that cost? The second one was a renovation of the Mount Jackson Press building and a renovation of the current Triplet Tech. And then the third option was a new CTE facility in the center of the county, along with a renovation of Triplet Tech. So we'll be seeing, so the very first option is the renovation and expansion of existing Triplet Tech. And you see here that on the left, you have the renovation and expansion of existing Triplet Tech. And you see that the architect's projected cost is $38,600,000. And that would add approximately 50,000 square feet for trade classes and a front addition of the facility. And you can read the other things that are included there. And then if you look on the right of this slide, you will see that the renovation of Triplet Tech without expansion is about $15,750,000.
And does that renovation add any classroom?
It does not add any classroom space.
Now, the one with the expansion, is that considering buying that extra lot of land, and is that including the cost of the land in there?
That, yes.
Okay.
It has a cost, it has a cost for, again, you know, not a, it's an educated guess. Cost of some land, some additional land, and it does include some money for that.
Okay.
That renovation without the expansion, do we know what we're getting for our money in that?
Those details, we would have to ask them on January the 26th. Those details weren't as detailed as the elementary schools, which, you know, had some categories, so they just did a square foot cost for the renovation.
Would that be like including high bays or anything like that, or we don't know that?
It's just
fixing what's wrong right now.
Yes.
Wait, you don't?
I'm sorry.
You don't know if that covers upgrade of the electrical system or anything like that?
No, it's a $250 per square foot cost. And it would include a minor addition of a little less than 10,000 square feet. But again, you know, this is really conceptual design at this point. When we start talking about the details, we have to have a contract with an architect to do that. So that's when we get more firm numbers.
But for the renovation expansion, it'll basically double the size of Triple Tech.
Yes. And then the second thing we asked the architects to do is to look at the Mount Jackson Press building, and then we combine that also, because if you, that would just take the trades to the Mount Jackson Press building, and which would, you know, let's say it's automotive, and maybe we add diesel mechanics, and maybe we do welding, and so on and so forth. That would just be the trades, and then the other classes would remain, like culinary, would remain at the current Triplet Tech. So there would need to be some renovations there. So this slide shows what the renovation of the Mount Jackson Press building would cost, and if you look, it's a $23 million estimate, and it does include the purchase of the property. The one thing that I wanted to point out, which I do have a question about, is the $1.5 million here for the equipment budget. So that number changes in all three of the scenarios. So, and I'm not sure why. So that's a question that I have. So this is back to the previous one we looked at. There's a $2.5 million equipment budget in there, but it doesn't. So why is it $2.5 million here for the renovation and expansion of Triplet Tech and a $1.5 million here? I'm not sure. So, you know, that's one of the questions that I have. And then the next scenario, you're going to see that it's a $5 million budget item. And so I'm not sure why, but, you know, that's one of the things that stuck out in my mind that I want to ask additional questions on. But you can see here that, you know, they estimated the purchase of the property and all of that, and it's about a 57,000 square foot building. You can see that the estimate's 23 million, but then when you add the, you know, the renovation of Triplet Tech without expansion, then, you know, the project cost is 38.75 million. And I have a slide at the end of this that shows all three of these together so you can compare. And then the third option was the new career and technical education facility at the, maybe on the 40 acres that we have in Woodstock, and the renovation of Triplet Tech. And you can see here where this project actually does a few extra things than the other two would. This project would allow us to have another road to out of our central campus to Hoover. So that's included in the cost, the estimated cost of this project that we're getting ready to see.
I don't think we have that one.
Yeah, we can get
We don't
these,
have that
the last few
page.
slides.
Oh, okay. We'll make sure that you do.
I mean, we don't have like the breakdown or anything like that.
Okay,
So
so
that-
yeah, here it is. You don't have the breakdown of,
Mm-mm.
okay.
Yeah, we don't have anything on the new CT.
This is the last page.
So the, new career and technical education facility. I'm looking here, is, what their estimate was $28.4 million. And then if you look down at the bottom, it has $5 million for equipment. So I'm not sure why it's different in all three scenarios. So, like I said, that's a question. But you see, included in this $28.4 million is a new roadway that connects to Hoover Road. The new CT facility, it would be 30,000 square feet. There would be parking lots, and this one would add a bus loop at Peter Muhlenberg, so there would be some additional things there. And one of the other things, if they added the bus loop at Peter Muhlenberg, they would have to relocate one of the ball fields. And you can see that ball field right there on the other piece of property. We own that kind of bow tie. We own that whole space there. The lighter, I guess it's lighter green or whatever. So that's all Shenandoah County Public School property.
Now, if we were gonna build a new Triplet Tech, why would we only build a 30,000 square foot facility?
Yep. So, and we can ask them to price that out, but I think one of the thoughts was, do we renovate, and we can do that per square foot because we have the per square foot cost here. But one of the thoughts was, do we renovate current Triplet Tech, or do we build a new facility? So yes, we can add that cost or that.
So is this the idea of we move some of the programs first and then expand later? Is that what we're talking about?
That's a possibility. And so the estimated cost there is $42.6 million. And here are all of the projects on one slide, on one very busy slide. So when you look at the top left, you'll see the renovation and expansion of Triplet Tech. So if we expanded that, we would be able to add some additional programs. It would be $38.6 million. That would be a renovation and expansion. In the lower left, we have the renovation of the Mount Jackson Press building and the renovation of Triplet Tech, and you see the cost of that project is $38.75 million. And then on the right side, you see, the smaller new facility at 30,000 square feet, and you see the cost of the renovation of Triplet Tech, and the cost there is $42.65 million. So those are the three scenarios that we discussed with the architect. But I do want to caution you that equipment fee wasn't the same throughout all three scenarios. And if you think about the $5 million fee from the new facility, you take that off, you're at $37.65 million at that point. And the only other thing that I'm going to mention is, remember that we have two donations that were offered, And one of them was with the Mount Jackson Press Building. And it was that they would pay for the parking, which was $500,000, and the new roof, which was $200,000. So about a $750,000 donation, which would bring that cost down to $38 million. But then we have the $5 million donation for if we did something new in the center of the county, which would be a $5 million donation. So just want to make sure that we keep those two things in the forefront as we're talking through this.
That equipment budget, I'm assuming that's talking about like Mr. Judy's lifts, the culinary arts. I mean, maybe that's why it's so much different, is if you go with a new building, of course, you're going to have to buy new equipment, especially if we're keeping the original triplet tech.
Right, but if we're, yes, but if we're renovating, so my thought is the equipment costs for the Mount Jackson Press Building and the new facility should have been identical.
Right.
That was my thought process, but maybe I could be missing something.
Well, I have a question because I don't know if I misheard you. Did you say that if we did the Jackson Press building, some of the programs would still stay in the old triplet? Did you say
Yes.
culinary and all that would
Yes.
stay? Why is that?
Because the Mount Jackson Press Building is 50,000 square feet with high bay space. There's not enough space to do our trades. And also the other programs that we offer, like healthcare sciences and so on.
So regardless, it would be split.
Yes.
So okay.
Yeah.
What programs would stay and which ones?
Again, we're not in that level of detail
Okay.
at this point. So the programs that would go out to the Mount Jackson Press Building would be all of those programs, like your carpentry, electricity,
Mechanic.
auto tech, auto body, yes, all of those would go to the Mount Jackson Press Building. The classes that need the high bay space.
Okay, I guess I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, if we added welding, it would go there. So. And I'm going to see if I can print the rest of those slides for you guys so you have a complete packet before you leave here.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, giving Dr. Shepard a much-deserved respite, we'll turn our attention to Mr. Hensley and Ms. Campbell. Mr. Hensley is the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services and Operations. Ms. Campbell is the Finance Director for our schools.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Dr. Shepard, members of the board. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak to you about the CIP. The one thing I did want to say is that Mr. Rickard stole my thunder a while ago when he said that the mobile units had arrived at Sandy Hook. So we were expecting them to arrive a day ago and tomorrow. However, they brought them all in within 2 days, so we're excited about that. And we do have a meeting with them tomorrow to discuss the details on setup. So that'll give us an idea of when they're going to be able to get them put together, get them set, leveled, and then we can start working on electricity to get it in. So probably looking into February, March, more than likely. That's a guesstimate. So don't hold me to that, Mr. Vance. So Ms. Campbell and I was able to do CIP this year. This is new for me. I've been involved in instruction for the last 27 years. So different set of eyes walking through buildings, and I can't believe I walked by some things that I've been able to see as we did this. So the first, you're going to have this packet that Ms. Jett should have provided to you. In that packet, you're going to have an overview on the first page, and then from that point on, it's going to have a breakdown of each category and the expenses that we're going to talk about tonight, and it's going to be laid out across 5 years. So that's going to be the hard document that goes behind what we're sharing with you tonight. The first thing I want to share is the process that we go through. We have a calendar that we go through. We start in September, and the purpose of that is to go out and walk the facilities, meet with the administration, meet with the people in the building, to see what are the issues that they are having in that building. And then we take that information, we come back, and we use a rubric to go through, which I'll share with you. The goal is March the 12th. We have something put together that can go with Dr. Shepard's budget to go to our county board. So what is the capital improvement that we're doing? The assistant superintendent has her staff go out and do this every year. It focuses on the plan of our major projects over 5 years. So we're not looking at just 1 year, we're looking at a long-term plan. However, we will focus coming into the budget year on what we're trying to get accomplished for the next school year. This is a document that you see fairly frequently. And the thing that I want to bring to your attention is that we have 12 facilities that we are looking at when we go through. The most important things I want you to look on this document tonight is the utilization. That utilization comes from the pre-K-12 enrollment fall 25 number. That's where those percentages come to with the capacity. So that's where our number of capacity comes from. And I know that she spoke earlier tonight that when you get to about 80 or 90%, you need to be looking, or 80%, you need to be looking at building and doing something, and we're currently at 90%. So our projects are broken down into 3 categories that we give, and they're ranked from 1 to 4 on a scale on a rubric. It's desirable with points 6 to 12, necessary 13 to 19, and urgent 20 to 24. So that's broken out into 6 different parts of a rubric. And this is the parts of the rubric that it's broken out to: the impact on student learning, impact on health and safety, vehicle equipment, facility conditions, planning time needed, level of service provided, and energy efficient and sustainability. The one thing that I want to point out that both Ms. Campbell and myself realized as we were working through this year, being brand new to this, is that there are 2 categories that negatively affect some projects. The first one is the impact on student learning, and the second one being planning time needed. Because sometimes those may not get rated very high, which brings the point levels down. So when we think about these desirable, necessary, and urgent, you're going to see a sharp increase this year in things that we're trying to accomplish. And that's a lot of times because it was marked as desirable and necessary in the past, and we didn't touch it because it wasn't urgent. But it's really urgent. Some of these things that are necessary are really urgent that need to happen. So this is the capital improvement funding over time. So you can go back to 2008. The dark blue is what was appropriated from the county body. The light blue is what we have requested during those years. So as you can see, when we hit 27, it jumps way up, and that's what we're getting ready to talk to you about. And that's because there's some infrastructure things that's coming that's making that jump way up. We want to make sure that we broke it down so that you could kind of see where does the money fall within those desirable, necessary, and urgent projects. You'll look and see that there were 75 projects in total that's in this CIP. However, we took in approximately 200 projects that we had to go through and determine what's going to actually make it into the CIP budget. So only 75 of those 200 projects actually made it into this budget. They may have been put out into building operations and other places that we need to try to fund things. But that's a cost in those areas too. So when we look at this, obviously, Dr. Shepard's talked about 5 projects. That $211 million is what we worked with the county budget on capital. These are the projects we submitted to them, and we worked to come into a ranking that was presented earlier at their board meeting. There are 12 desirables in this budget that we have. There's 38 necessaries, and there's 20 urgents. This is the page that's an overview of your breakdown that you have by every item. So as you can see, there are certain, in 26, 27, what may carry a large impact is HVAC at over 15 million. That's our elementary schools. So as we have tackled our elementary schools where we know we have moisture, we know we have humidity, we know that our HVACs need to be replaced. As we've worked through that, I've talked to some of you in our buildings. It was originally around 9 million. As the engineers, we've been working with trained engineers through plans. As they've been coming back, they've come back now 3 times. And the last time that they come back, it went from about 3 million per school to about 4.35 million per school, because there are some things that they're running into with fresh air, with air scrubbers, things within the buildings that will need to be put in. So let's look at the different categories. I'm going to skip over the major capital maintenance. Dr. Shepard just went over that. Transportation, pretty self-explanatory. These are where we're purchasing our school buses. We're replacing driver's ed cars that kids are learning in, our activity buses that take our students around, our service vehicles. So you can see in the comments how that lays out within your plan. 5 buses per year, 3 vehicles per year, a vehicle that's proposed maybe for driver's ed per year to keep us on track. Safety and security. So when we get into safety and security, there are some things that I want to highlight. And what I want to highlight are like the light poles at Strasburg High School for the softball field. That was on our CIP. We also have in here the light poles at Stonewall Jackson around the track. Those are wooden poles. So the goal is that we need to get rid of those wooden poles, because a lot of those wooden poles rot from the inside out. You may look at them on the outside and they look perfectly fine, but on the inside is where the damage is happening, and we don't know that. So best practice would be to get those items off of our facilities if we can. The next thing would be repainting of kitchens. And some people would say, well, why do you need to repaint kitchens? We actually had a comment in our write-up this time from our inspectors about the kitchens with our paint. And basically, that paint is failing in the kitchens, and you need to have smooth surfaces that can be cleaned, that can't harbor bacteria and hold things. So we're at a point that we need to start doing that across all of our buildings. The clock and bell intercom systems, this is very interesting. I ran into this on day 1 that I started this job, that I went and picked up a 1990 computer and went to one of our schools trying to figure out how to change our bell systems. And that's not a joke. It's a 1994 computer system that's running our schools. So there are times, and triple text here, that I've went down and I've reset the clocks. Some of the clocks will run and change. All the others stay at the same time and they never move. Or we reset the system and the bells are still at the same time. They're ringing an hour before school is out. So we need to get on a system that we have one common system. We have 3 different systems right now that we're trying to manage. So this is a plan to get on one common system. Throughout this plan, and I'm not going to point them all out, but you're going to see that there's ADA things throughout this plan. One of the focuses from the state is to make sure that you are still progressing with ADA compliance. And you'll see this in here, whether it's sidewalks, whether it's access to those sidewalks. One thing I did want to point out is the bottom 2 on this is the flashing lights and the drainage pipe at Ashby Lee Elementary School. If anyone's visited the playground in the back of Ashby Lee Elementary School, there is about, I believe, an 8 to 10 inch pipe that is sticking out from underneath the track, where kids are running around playing. They're not looking for holes, they're not looking for pipes. It's exposed. It's something that we need to do something to get that drainage out. The problem is right now it drains into their play area and it becomes a pond where their play area is. The safety lights were on our last CIP. We're working on that now. We had $50,000 in there, and what we found is that $50,000 is not going to pay for that, because when we start renovating these lights along the road, VDOT has regulations that you cannot use what's there. You have to take it out and replace it with, in this case, like breakable things that will break off. So there's some changes that we weren't aware of when we started this project. Tree trimming. I was fortunate enough to walk around with Mr. Vance one day looking at some trees at a school. Unfortunately, this is across our entire division. If you go to Strasburg and drive down Ram Drive, I encourage you to count how many dead trees are on Ram Drive. We're in a process that we're going to need to remove all the trees along Ram Drive on the graveyard side, because when winds happen, they're falling on gravestones. So we need to make sure we take care of that we're not damaging people's property with those trees. There is a request, like here's something necessary that's not urgent, movable walls. We have these in a lot of our schools, and when we went through our elementary renovations, all of our principals talked about there too, getting rid of these movable walls. And the reason why is that it's a safety concern for them, that once you get into one room, you can get into another room. So that's one of those reasons why they're trying to get rid of the removable walls. The playground fence, as you know, Mr. Salvi, we put a lot of money into playground fences. The one thing that we did not do during that process was totally enclose those fences. So kids run east as well as they run west. So we want to make sure we want to close off on the other sides too and make sure that they're enclosed if a student would be running. I'm going to skip one. So here's the big one, and I think this is what we need to take a close look at, is that this HVAC replacement and upgrade, you're going to see in this document there's some red writing. Anywhere where there's red writing, that means if we do something, this cost is going to go away within another cost because it's a part of another cost. So if we're renovating or we're doing something in our schools, a lot of this HVAC cost will go away because that would be part of the upgrades that happened during that time. As we've moved through this, not only do we know that we have a system that's called a dual pipe system, and right now we're being flooded. It's kind of warm outside, so maintenance is getting flooded. It's too hot. It's too hot in my room. It's too hot in my room because it's only one flow. It's either heat on or heat off. It's either air on or air off. So replacing the system allows us to condition both ways. If the air is too moist, we can heat it. We can take that moisture out of it and dump that fresh air in. That's what this is talking about. If you notice the next one, it's 6.2 million. As we've got into this project, we have aging systems across our entire division. There's a 580 controller right now that we have in our buildings. We had 6, I believe, of those units at our storage area in case something happened. Central High School had 2 go out in 1 week. We have 4 left. That's 4 left for the entire division. You cannot buy any more of them. They're obsolete. So we have a large number of these controllers that once we use those controllers that we have, there's no more. We can't use the controller. So part of this would be, as we're looking at HVACs, we have to be a little bit smart. When we do something, we have to know that when we replace the controller here, we save that controller back because we know we have that old controller someplace else. So there's some reusing of things as we move through too that we can be smart about. The other thing that hit us about 4 weeks into this as we're working with the engineers is that a company decided that they're no longer making the computer board to one of our systems. So the computer boards are now going to be obsolete. We can't purchase those. So throughout time, we have to start getting rid of those computer boards also. We've held back on rooftop units. As you can see, it's red. If we are moving on with HVAC renovations, we don't want to put in a $200,000 unit if it's part of something else. But if we don't move forward, this unit needs to be replaced. It's not that it's something that we can set and wait on. So we still have these things in here because they're needed, but we also understand that $13.5 million is a lot of money to renovate 3 schools. The VAV boxes are for the high schools, and it's basically to control the humidity just like we're having problems at the elementary school. This is our science wings in our high schools. We also know that if we're doing this across time, we're not going to probably get everything in on time. So the HVAC piping insulation, that is to identify those areas that we do have leaks from condensation to repair those as time goes along so that that's not being part of that moisture and humidity issues that we have. The other thing that we have is high school locker rooms. We have some really old high school locker rooms that we have people coming in at Strasburg. I know that they were using them this past winter, or this winter when they had their tournament. I encourage you to visit our high schools and look at those locker rooms. That they're in desperate need of renovation. And then also we have, here's a perfect example of something that's desirable, but it's really, we need this in a learning environment in a school setting. We need to add HVAC to our automotive shops, into our shops that kids are working. The fact is, if you go to a shop where kids are working now, it's usually a door goes up, they go in, the door goes down, it's AC'd in those areas, but this is also a learning environment for kids, so we need to catch up on that end. But that could go away also if we're renovating Triplet Tech. Roofing replacements. We have been working tirelessly on roofs. We just replaced one at WW that when we took the roof off and you looked up, you could see through the roof. So we are working every year trying to replace. So this is to put us on a replacement cycle. So as the roofs go through, we can't go through just kind of like we built schools, put all of our roofs on at one time and then take them all off. It's not economical to do that. So this is putting in a replacement schedule for that. The electricity at Triplet Tech needs to be upgraded. A perfect example, we got a call today from Triplet Tech that the freezer had went down for the culinary program. So we expect a total loss of all those perishable items there. So the items that we purchased, now we're going to have to replace. So that's part of electric, but you're also going to see in here that we're asking for a generator, because if the electricity goes off, we don't have a generator. We lose items too. So I've been on break that we've received calls that we're rushing items from Triplet Tech to Stonewall or wherever to try to save them because electricity may be out. Plumbing and drainage, this is basically, we have some areas in our division that water just does not run off. It sets, it ponds, so it's correcting those areas. We have some elevators in our school that need to be replaced. They're at that time. They've reached the expected useful life. So at Sandy Hook and Central, they need to be replaced. Our stadium light, I know Mr. Rickard, we talked about this 2 years ago. Strasburg just had theirs updated, but it's time to update all those lights that they need to be replaced. So everyone here all set. We're continuing with the playground replacements. That's been huge. If you talk to any of our elementary students, they are loving the new items that they have out. We also had a committee that we have a plan moving forward of what we're going to do with this money. At our middle schools, we have some units such as our welding booths, our dust collecting units that are not working properly. They're also in here. One that doesn't seem, here's one that I think is urgent, not necessary, is cafeteria tables. A lot of these members walked through on our school walks. You saw where we are welding seats back on cafeteria tables. You're able to see where the top of the table is separating from the frames, where we have tried to retrofit, screw, and brace the tops of the tables back down. This is to provide money on a 10-year recycle placement to get something in that we can start replacing those tables. The generator for Triplet Tech today is a perfect example of what a use of a generator would be great for. And then our transportation facility, even though it's marked as desirable, it's really more than desirable, right? Because we need to fix vehicles, but this has been broke now for some time. It's inoperable. It's about replacing it. Resurfacing the track. For the first year, Strasburg High School will not have an invitational, and they will not host the district track meet there. And that's the first time in about 8 to 10 years for that reason. And the reason being is that our track there has deteriorated to the point that it's a safety risk to athletes. And when I say that, if you walk down and look at it, it's down to the asphalt. There's no rubber at some places on that track. So that's what this is for. Stonewall Jackson has places that it's coming up. It's nowhere near in desired need of what Strasburg is, but it's on its way there if we don't fix it. Tennis courts, we replaced some tennis courts. We fixed tennis courts. I think you will remember at Strasburg a year ago. And they came in, they looked great, they were phenomenal. We were able to practice on them, we were able to play on them. And about 5 months later, the poles have collapsed in. It's starting to crack apart. And the issue is, it's not the surfacing of it that we've done. The issue is the base under it. So it needs to be a total restoration of that. The base needs to be taken out. It needs to be refilled, packed so that it's solid. We can keep putting stuff on top of it, but it's going to keep shifting. It's going to keep cracking. And it's not going to be able to use. They can't use it this year. The football field's been on at Stonewall for multiple years, and it's a safety issue. It's just something that we need to do. It's part of keeping up with our facilities. Welding booths and ventilation systems are big. Our high schools, the booths are the booths pretty much that were put in when they were put in. They're not drawing the way they should. So this is looking at working through them to upgrade those because it's part of our ag program that we use, and it's a desperate need in those schools. We've had multiple teachers come to us talking about the ventilation, worried about the ventilation. Even at the middle school, they were talking about it there, how it's not pulling the way it should. So, in all honesty, they talked to us. I spoke to the principal. I said, you don't weld. We're not going to put kids in safety way. We're not going to harm students. So, unfortunately, some of those students in those schools, because they're not pulling, they're not going to weld because we don't have a system to pull it right now. Some of you walk through WW, the breezeway, going towards Peter Muhlenberg. This is where, if you're with us, you can stick your finger through the metal frame because the metal frame has rusted out. And then the EFS is the top of our schools. It's the stucco part of our middle schools. Sandy Signal Knob has money in it that we're going to put out an RFP for to have it fixed. I encourage you to drive down and look at Norfolk at the damage that is on that needs to be fixed. That would be the next one. It's the worst one that we have. And then Pierre Muhlenberg will follow that. I was able to walk around with our director 3 days ago at Stonewall Jackson High School because they have some EFS problems happening with it coming off. And I asked the gentleman that was with us that was there looking at it, how much time do we really have that we can work with this to get there? And his answer is that, Chad, you need to replace this within a year or you're going to be doing major construction to your building because you don't have anything protecting it. So some of these things that have been showing up as necessary or things that we've been putting off are now coming to be urgent for us. We have lots of overhangs and doors, to aging of buildings that need to be replaced. Replacement of the gym floor at Norfolk, that's important. That's the only gym floor in the division that has not been sanded down and redone. So currently, if you'd walk in, you will see, looks like holes in the floor, but it's like out of the wax, the sealant throughout the floor because where things have been on the floor, it's been pulled up. So it needs to be replaced. The locker rooms, I spoke about them earlier, the floors with epoxy. And then we've been replacing a lot of carpet in elementary, and the goal was within a year to have all that out and have LVT tile in it. At the high school, in the music rooms, and in the libraries, we're looking to put carpeted tile. So if that tile goes wrong, we just pull that tile up and we put another one down. Softball press boxes, I think it's important to know we are currently at Stonewall Jackson and Central High School using storage sheds as press boxes. We have taken a storage shed, set it down, and cut a window into it to use as a press box. As a school system, we need to get to a place that at our softball fields where our girls play, that they have the same things that our boys have as press boxes. Warehouse space. Ms. Pence knows a little bit about this. We talked about it as we walked around. People don't know how little space that we have. We really don't have storage. Our maintenance stores are paper right now, and that's pretty much all they can store. We have no room in maintenance. These were the two facilities, maintenance and transportation were the two facilities that were the worst. We're working on transportation. Maintenance was the next one on the report that they did. We have to run and get our supplies every time because we can't bring supplies and have in a warehouse to be able to go and get and then replenish. A lot of our supplies we have to go and get because we don't have anywhere to put it. And just parking lots as we move forward, some of them are degrading and we're going to have to start doing some patching and repainting. EFS is all the elementary schools. This is important. They're different than the middle schools. However, we don't want to get to the point with our elementary schools that we are with our middle schools right now, but that will be fixed if we do renovations. All of our shop floors and ag departments, they need to be redone. It's pretty much the original floors that was down, and it's the epoxy that would be put down on those. Same way at Triplet Tech, same type of flooring for the automotive classroom. So that's everything. I know it's a lot. I know I didn't hit everything on the list. Are there any questions that I or Kaylin can answer? I know we went through a lot of information, and we've solved a lot of different facilities needs through this.
I know we had talked about carpet replacement over the winter break. Was that Was any of that done?
Yes. Yep. So that was done, and then they'll start back up again. Any break that we have in the school year, we're going to try to, like spring break, we'll try to capture again, get them to come in and do more, and then as we hit summer, then they'll start on the rest of it.
That 4.1 million that the Board of Supervisors gave us back last year, can we get a report sometime before our next meeting showing where all those projects stand at this point in time?
Sure.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you have a ballpark number of what the 200 projects would be altogether? We only have 75, so there's 125 projects that did not make
So I
this
think
list.
that will bring us up to, that would take us up to about 50 million. It would bring us up to about 50 million from about 47 million where we are now.
Okay.
The remaining projects were usually smaller, which is why they didn't make it to the rank of CIP. They were usually 5,000, 10,000, a couple hundred. So that increment is much smaller for those final 125 projects.
Sure, but you know, it still adds up
Still
to
money.
5 million. Yes. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Very thorough.
Thank you.
Very much. Well, Dr. Shepard, are you rested now?
I am, thank you.
Okay, well then we're ready to hear about the terms and conditions appointing trustees to the Starnes Education Trust.
So the school board appoints trustees to the Starnes Education Trust and sets the terms and conditions upon which the trustee will continue serving as the trustees of the trust. Past board member, Mr. Gutschall, served in this capacity for the last couple of years, so this seat is vacant. And I believe, yes, this is on the action agenda for this evening as well. I have heard from one school board member who is interested and have not heard from any other, but Ms. Whitney Pence is interested in serving in this capacity.
Thank you for the information. Proposed changes to policy FFA, school names. Dr. Shepard.
Thank you. So a school board member requested revisions to policy FFA, school names, and I am going to turn this information over to Ms. Carlino, who made the request.
Thank you, Dr. Shepard. Well, the reason I included this is we have some changes that I would like to propose to the policy FFA regarding the school names. We've had situations like even right now with the recent passing of Mr. Lin, that we were thinking about naming some things maybe after him, but one of the things that it says with regards to the school names or even facility, like if we wanted to name something, the person, you know, there's a lot of things that we cannot do, like for example, the individual has to be deceased for at least 10 years to be considered. So that was one of the things that I thought that maybe we could go ahead and get rid of that language, which would give us more freedom to actually, when we need to name schools or name facilities, to have more choices in naming them.
So this item is for information this evening, and I believe there will be discussion. There will be an opportunity for discussion at the Monday, January 26th meeting for action at the February 12th meeting.
Library book materials purchase list.
Thank you. So each month, the school board office, the director, the assistant superintendent for instruction, and the director of instruction reviews the library draft book lists that were proposed by the librarians. This is the attached list for December for the elementary, middle, and high school are on the agenda item, and I'm happy to answer any questions. This will be on the consent agenda for February 12th, if there are no questions or concerns.
Not hearing any questions. Heading into the home stretch. Action items, personnel. Is there a motion to approve the personnel list as was presented in closed session?
I move to approve the personnel list as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no.
But Mr. Street was out of the room. Yeah.
Sir?
Mr. Street had.
Oh, Mr. Street is missing. Yes, sorry. Which brings us back to the Starnes. Is there a motion to approve the resolution and appointing fill in the blank as the Shenandoah County School Board Starnes trustee, Mr. Shively?
I move to approve the attached resolution appointing Ms. Whitney Pence as the Shenandoah County School Board Starnes trustee.
And a second to that?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And it passes 5-0.
Mr. Street is absent at vote.
Mr. Street is absent at the moment, yes. Six point three, resolution of the Shenandoah County School Board celebrating America's 250th anniversary. Ms. Carlene, I believe you were the
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a resolution that I proposed because this is a year of our semi-quincentennial. And I know there's going to be a lot of celebrations, well, hopefully there will be all over the nation. But I wanted to pass this resolution as a board because I would like to encourage our teachers and our staff to actually promote this semi-quincentennial. And maybe provide more activities to teach our kids about our school, about our country, about our history, and that's what this resolution would do. Now, one thing that we did need to fill out was at the end, well, we want this to happen throughout the year because it's the year 2026 is the 250th anniversary. We wanted to designate a week at the end of the semester that the teachers would actually, that's going to be declared like the week of America's semi-quincentennial, and maybe even have more activities going on during that week. And I believe we had decided that it was going to be at the end of the semester, right? Do we have the dates already, or?
May 18th.
May 18th, okay. So it would be
May 18th.
the week of May 18th. So it would be for, so that now therefore be resolved that the Shenandoah County School Board proudly commemorates the 250th anniversary of the United States of America by declaring the week of May 18th as America's quincentennial, semi-quincentennial week, during which district schools will engage staff, students, and families in patriotic assemblies, lessons on the Constitution and founding documents, projects honoring veterans and civic leaders, and activities celebrating America's history, achievements, and future. So that would be that paragraph right there. Any questions?
Is it possible to move that date up? I know May 18th, our seniors are already gone, aren't they?
They are. However, we do SOL testing the last 2 weeks of, the last 3 weeks of school. So we could move it up, but it may get in the way of getting ready for our SOL testing.
I just feel like with our seniors going out into the world, it would be a missed opportunity to help educate them on the Constitution and.
Again, we're hoping that this will be, the idea of the resolution and passing it now is that hopefully the teachers and staff will do it throughout the entire year. This was just 1 week that we're hoping maybe we'll have additional activities, maybe as a school-wide or district-wide. But the idea is we're hoping that our teachers will take this opportunity throughout the semester to actually reinforce those things. I have no problem with the date, that's why I left it open. It was just a matter of the SOLs, but I'm open to any changes if anybody wants to do that.
Well, I need your motion to approve the resolution.
Oh, so I will get a motion, okay. With that, I move to approve the 2025 resolution of the Shenandoah County School Board celebrating America's 250th anniversary and declaring the week of May 18th, 2026 as the week Shenandoah County Public Schools commemorates America's semi-quincentennial week.
A second to the motion, please.
Second.
I'm going to join into the discussion, and I'd like to thank Ms. Carlinio for the introduction of this resolution. And when I first read it, Ms. Carlinio and others, I was reminded of something I had learned a number of years ago. It was something about John Adams, that he was writing to his wife Abigail that this day, July the 4th, 1776, would be commemorated, and I quote, as a day of deliverance to be celebrated with pomp and parade, bonfires and illuminations from one end of the continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore. And at the same time, as I was considering this resolution, let us not forget the role of one of our own county residents, one Reverend Peter Gabriel Muhlenberg, who on January the 28th, 1776, months before July the 4th, threw aside his clerical robe and revealed the uniform of a continental colonel. His text that day was from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, 1 through 8, a time of war and a time for peace. And he declared that the time to fight had come. And he even went further, because he then raised the 8th Virginia Regiment, which was known as the German Regiment, and served noticeably during the Revolutionary War. And of course, he is honored with a bust and a statue in front of our courthouse. There is a street named after him, and oh yes, there is a middle school, and I was hoping Jen Martin would stick around for this, but she has gone. So I'm certain that the vendors that supply the schools have already cranked out resource materials to sell to the various teachers and so forth. And one item I would suggest to you is this. The greatest sentence ever written, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator, and you know the rest. I'm not doing Joe Biden here. And you know the rest. But this is a quick read. This is a quick read. You could take 2 cups of hot tea and probably read it during halftime of a football game. So I recommend that book to you, The Greatest Sentence Ever Written. Other discussion on the resolution celebrating the Declaration of Independence.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose an amendment, a slight change to the resolution. On paragraph 3, after whereas instilling respect for our Constitution, I would like to add, comma, the history of our republic, another comma, and then the word our before flag.
Is there a second to the amendment?
He did say, he meant to say, I move to amend, correct? I heard I propose.
Oh, well,
I mean,
you proposed to amend, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Does that clarify that,
Mr. Chairman?
Parliamentarian?
I move to amend the resolution of the Shenandoah County Public School Board celebrating America's 250th anniversary to change paragraph 3 from after whereas instilling respect for our Constitution, comma, I would like to add the history of our republic, comma, and the word our before flag.
And is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
And it's been seconded.
Who was the second?
Ms. Pence seconded that. The second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence speaks to the theory, the political theory of the Declaration, which they are creating a republic. Fast forward to 1787 at the Constitutional Convention, and the Constitutional Convention was held in secret. And when the work was done, and as Dr. Franklin was leaving Independence Hall, they asked him, "What government have you created?" And Mr. Franklin said, "A republic, if you can keep it." There was a time at the Constitutional Convention where there was still talk of having a king, hereditary government, divine right. And Dr. Franklin listened carefully, and when it was his turn to speak, he succinctly defined a republican form of government as outlined in that second paragraph of the Declaration. When Dr. Franklin said, "Here, the people govern," and that is a republican form of government. So I'm assuming, Mr. Parliamentarian, if there's no other discussion, and I know I filibustered here, we vote on the amendment.
Yep, do the amendment and
Then we vote on the main motion as amended.
Very good.
Okay, thank you, sir. Just wanted to clarify that. So all in favor of the amendment as proposed and outlined here, adding the words "the history of our republic, comma, our," will indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
6-0. And now we vote on the resolution as amended, adding the amendment. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye to that.
Aye.
And that passes 6-0, Madam Clerk. I will have a whole lot less to say on item 6.4, the resolution of the Shenandoah County School Board encouraging balanced instruction through reduced screen use, and I defer again to Ms. Carlinia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a resolution that I introduced because this is an issue that I've talked about before, and it's very dear and near to my heart, following up with the cell phone ban and trying to also keep away and try to avoid as much technology as we can that is not necessary for actual learning. And the idea behind doing this resolution, and I know I've been talking about this before, is this is going to help guide me and whoever's going to be serving with me on the instruction committee, which I believe is going to be Mr. Rickard. But one of the things that I have been looking into a lot, I've been talking to a lot of other school board members. I have been, as I mentioned before, I'm a member of an AI working group that is a national working group that has been working on a lot of the problems that computers, that AI, that a lot of this digital exposure has actually brought about to our education system, and especially our kids. I mean, we have seen the numbers in terms of how the education, the quality of the education has declined. We have seen the problems with just students being able to concentrate better, not concentrate as well because of the digital instruction. So the idea behind this is to actually promote teacher-led teaching. So instead of just relying on computers and relying on the Chromebooks, we want to see more teachers actually leading the teaching. We want to see the kids actually being active participants in the reading, in the writing, not just reading from a Chromebook or relying on AI. We also have the problem with, the problems that excessive screen time it has on adverse physical and mental issues, mental health issues, but also physical with the eyesight and all that. I always talk about the Anxious Generation book that talks a lot about this and how our kids have been greatly harmed by this reliance on the digital screens. But also we have a problem with privacy concerns, because a lot of this, what a lot of people don't realize, that a lot of these companies, especially with the Chromebooks, they've been harvesting the data of our kids. And that's one problem that a lot of people haven't really talked about, and I'm hoping that we'll talk about it more as we progress in this discussion. But also in terms of our kids, people don't realize, even though we have these firewalls that are not that are supposed to prevent our kids from reaching other websites and things that are not desirable, our kids are smart and they can actually very easily overcome those firewalls, even younger kids. So that's one concern that I have also about the computers and the Chromebooks. Now, I understand we live in a society that is very reliant on technology. So obviously we will have to teach at some point technology and how to use it responsibly. But the thing that I always go back to is any kid, even a 2-year-old, can use an iPad and a phone with no problems nowadays. I mean, these kids are almost born wired to be able to use technology. So I don't foresee that being a problem. I personally believe that we should completely avoid these computers during the elementary school years. I think we should probably avoid it mostly during middle school. At the high school level, maybe we can start, talking about introducing some aspects of it just so the kids will be ready. But I want to make sure that our kids have the right foundation before they use a computer. Before they use a computer, I want to make sure that they know how to read and that they're not just having the Chromebook read to them. I want to make sure that they know how to write, and that includes writing cursive and not just typing on a computer. I want to make sure that if they have a question, that the teacher is not telling them, well, here's a Chromebook, you figure it out, or go to the YouTube, which I know we're getting that because we've heard it from some kids. I want to make sure that the kids, if they have a problem or if they have some problem solving that they need to work on, that they're actually talking to other students and talking to the teachers, not just doing the work on the computer. So there's a lot of issues that can be resolved and hopefully work on our kids' foundation if we get rid of a lot of these problems that the Chromebooks have been bringing, and Chromebooks and digital overall. Now, I know a lot of the schools, including ours, we've come to rely on this, and I know SOL testing, and I know a lot of probably the newer teachers are more used to using that than our older teachers. So we're gonna have to be talking about a timeline and transition, and that's something that we're gonna have to be doing in the next few months. I'm hoping to have a dialogue with parents, with students, with teachers, with board members as to what would be best to do. But what I would like to see us is at least take a stance right now. We acknowledge that this has become a problem and that we do need to address it in some way. And that's why it's just a resolution right now. Doesn't really have a whole lot of teeth right now. What it does is it just encourages the teachers to start looking into what's coming and telling them, we would rather you teach, not just give them the Chromebook. We would rather us, have the kids learn cursive and learn how to write. Note-taking, that's something that I've talked to college counselors, and they told me that's the #1 deficit that the kids have, is that they don't even know how to take notes anymore. So there's a lot of things that can be resolved just by limiting this. But I wanted to start with a resolution, so at least we're taking a stance on this, and then from there we can look into what exactly is that going to look like. What is it going to look like next year? What is it going to look like down the road? I don't know what's going to be, what the final answer is going to be, but at least for now, we're taking the stance, we're sending the message that we believe that the conventional, traditional schooling that most of us received is the right thing, and that's what we need our kids to be fluent in. That's the only way that we're really going to be able to make sure that our kids are prepared before they move on to the computer. But if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, would the representative from District 3 like to make a motion at this time?
I would like to make a motion at this time.
What is your motion?
And the motion will be, I move to approve the resolution of the Shenandoah County School Board encouraging balanced instruction through reduced screen use as presented.
And is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rickard, and the floor continues to be open for discussion. Whitney?
Sure. I want to thank Ms. Carlinio for bringing this forward. As a parent, I do see the value in pencil to paper and in having a physical book in their hands. Those practices, they support focus, comprehension, long-term retention in ways that a screen simply just cannot do. I appreciate also that this resolution is balanced. It's not completely eliminating the Chromebook itself. And we actually just talked about this topic in November. It was technology and cyber education at our SBMA conference. So that just reinforces that there's school divisions that are also dealing with this, and continuing to wrestle with the balance. So it's a very thoughtful step forward that our school, for our school division being more intentional about how and when technology is used to best support student learning.
Other discussion? Mike Rickard.
I had a parent email me about this topic, and I thought I had it under control when I talked to the parent. The parent brought up several things, such as right now they had taken all the electronics away from their child, and the one they could not take away was the Chromebook. Me being an advocate for parents being involved in their children's education, I said, that's simple. I said, go to the school, tell them you need paper materials for whatever's being taught right now while the child is being restricted. She said, I've tried that in the past and the school can't provide me anything. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I find it hard to believe. I find that disheartening if we can't provide a paper document teaching the same thing that they're being set in front of a Chromebook on. She had brought up some other points to me, which I give much thought to because I've got 3 kids that came through the school system myself. My third being a senior right now, and some of the handwriting I see is atrocious. But she brought up things that I hadn't even thought of, such as when they're writing a paper, they're typing it on the computer, the software automatically tells them if it's, you know, a new paragraph or where to end a sentence. The kids don't even know that anymore. The computers fix everything for them. They also use the computers to basically text back and forth during class via email from student to student. I applaud you for coming up with this. I do think we need to take a hard look at this. I think we need to put some serious guardrails up and put bigger teeth into this. So I'm fully on board with it, and I know several parents are as well. So thank you.
This direction, Mr. Shavy.
Yes, and long gone are the days that you pass notes in class, right, Mr. Reagan?
Right.
But as a parent of 2, elementary school age kids, and in personal experience with my 8-year-old, it's a lot more difficult to call something back and take something away than to limit it in the beginning. So I am fully behind this because as the kids get more and more reliant on the technology, it's going to be hard for us to dial it back later. So I think starting that in the elementary schools is key, and I am, I'm 100% behind this, and I'll be bringing up something along these lines of my board member comments at the end. So, but great job, Ms. Carlinia. This is something that we want to get in front of, and try to be proactive rather than reactive. So well done.
No, I definitely support this. Very good job. There's been things that have bothered me in the past and just never executed it, but I do. I'm sure it's not a shock to people that I understand technology and I understand it's the future. It's part of the future. It's not going away. It doesn't even plateau, but there needs to be a good balance of not everything going, the computer screen and the basics, the foundations and basics. So I definitely support this, and I don't even know if I should say this because I think it's kind of embarrassing myself. I just tell it like it is, but I wrote something on a piece of paper and not too long ago, and I handed it to a student, and I was expecting a response. And the bottom line is, I said, well, don't you have a response? And they kept looking at it, and I said, what so? Finally had to tell me they didn't really know how to read cursive. And I was embarrassed. So, I definitely support this.
Well, the motion on the floor is a resolution that the Shenandoah County School Board encourages balanced instruction through reduced screen use as presented. It has been properly seconded and discussed. I'm assuming that there's no additions to the discussion. And we call for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. 6-0. Dr. Shepherd, called your name a lot today.
So here are the presentations with the last few pages. So not sure why it didn't print the first time, but there you go. So I would, we welcomed back our students and staff this week from what was hopefully a restful and fun winter break for the start of the second semester. Our schools celebrated the return to schools in a variety of ways, including Sandy Hook and Ashby Lee Elementaries both rolling out the red carpet for their students as they arrived for their first day back on Tuesday. As you know, I take a strong interest in student attendance for the 5th straight month. We saw improvement in our attendance rate year over year with an average overall attendance rate of 93.36 for the month of December, and we look forward to that number being a little higher in January. Several of our FFA and FCCLA chapters participated in the Reese Across America event in December. Reese Across America honors and remembers the brave men and women who have served our country by placing wreaths on their graves to express gratitude and ensure their sacrifices are never forgotten. I want to recognize our Strasburg Rams again. Our Rams shine at the Strasburg Science Fair. Dr. Munson at the Strasburg Science Department held their annual science fair before break and once again had some really impressive projects on display. Each student group proudly displayed and explained their projects to the judges, who scored them based on their research, presentation, and public speaking skills. The top 3 finishers were Darius Maynard and Conrad Likens for their project Nasty Knobs, which looked at culturing bacteria on different doorknobs at school. Lillian Higgs for her project on Does Caffeine Affect Reaction Time, and Rusty Filbert for his project on Does Salt Water Conduct Electricity. If you get the opportunity to be a judge at any of our science fairs across the division, please do so. You will be very impressed with the level of work that goes into these projects from the elementary all the way to the high school. And then just finally want to acknowledge that we had a strong fall sports season. We had several athletes who were honored by the Northern Virginia Daily. Congratulations to Strasburg Jr. Gavin Butler on being named the Golfer of the Year, Stonewall Jackson Jr. Marcus Foley on being named the Cross Country Runner of the Year, Strasburg sophomore Piper Dellinger on being named the Girls Cross Country Runner of the Year, Central Senior Hadley Withrow on being named the Volleyball Player of the Year, Strasburg Senior Hudson Conrad on being named the Football Defensive Player of the Year, Strasburg Junior Quincy Williams on being named the Cove Football Offensive Player of the Year. So we had a lot of great players this year. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
None from me.
Well, hearing none, board member comments. I'm going to take a geographical approach to this. I'm going to start on the southern end of the county with District 1 and Mr. Scheide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned a minute ago, I heard from a constituent today bringing up smart glasses, meta glasses. So I started looking into those. And then I went and looked at our cell phone policy. And I think in the upcoming meetings, we should have a discussion, and I'm going to propose a change to our cell phone policy to include those. The technology is moving so fast, and we mentioned watches and phones. You don't even need those now. You can get a pair of prescription glasses that gives you instant access to the internet, and you could even get it to tell you how to do a calculus problem, and it will talk it into your ear. So that's something I think along the lines of technology that we should take a hard look at soon. And with an 8-year-old who is very technology driven, I just hope that Jefferson doesn't need to have glasses because he'll be asking for these. But on the other note, as we close tonight, I want to take a moment to thank our teachers and our staff across the county and our administrators, all of you here this evening, and obviously included. The commitment that our staff and teachers and administration show to our students every day should not go unnoticed. And as someone who's there, in the schools a lot now, in this position, but was there before, I wanted to personally say your professionalism, care, and really perseverance are the foundation of what makes our schools so strong. And I believe we do have strong schools. So I'm grateful also to serve along you board members and who actually represent our families, because I am a big proponent of parents and teachers and schools being partners in their children's education. So I'm grateful to be up here with all of you, and I'll close with something I came across a little earlier, some words that are often attributed to Booker T. Washington. There are two educations, one that teaches us how to make a living, and the other that teaches us how to live. And parents and teachers have to be a partnership in both of those educations.
Okay, thank you. District 2, Mr. Street.
Well, first of all, I'm wondering, Mr. Shiver, you got a pair of those glasses on now?
No, it would make me smarter, and that's not, these definitely don't do that.
Well, I want to welcome you, Mr. Shiver, and you, Ms. Pence, to the board. Glad to have you. Something's happening.
Yeah, you broke it.
Want to thank everybody that did all the work on the presentations today. I'm sure there's a lot of work that had to be done to provide all of this information and numbers, so thank you all for doing that. I appreciate it. And once again, I want to congratulate Strasburg's football team for the state champions. Congratulate them, and also all the other sports and their accomplishments through the county. So anyway, once again, thank everybody for what you do, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. District 3, Ms. Carlenio.
Yes, I have a few things that I wanted to talk about real quick. Again, thank you to my colleagues for passing this resolution on the Chromebooks. It's very important that we look into this. Like I said, I would like to eliminate it for the elementary schools and then see how we go with the other ones. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to do this. I've considered maybe even doing like a work group kind of task force that would include parents and teachers. I'm still not sure. If there's interest in that, I may do that, just so that we can look at timelines, transitions, and then what kind of alternatives we can actually consider. But one of the things that I also want to do as part of the instruction committee, which I led last couple of years and I'm hoping to lead again this time, is something that we've talked about before, and I kind of mentioned it with regards to the Chromebooks. It's the handwriting, and I'm glad that Mr. Street actually mentioned that, because that is something that I know parents, I know we teach it, and I know parents who have told me that they're very grateful that we do. The question is, do we need to add more years to what we're teaching? You know, instead of just doing a couple of years, should we extend that just to make sure that the kids really do know how to write in cursive? So that's something I want to look at, and also I would like to see our teachers starting to teach more about the note-taking skills, because like I said, that's something that is really lacking. That involves a lot of things. It involves the listening to the teacher, it involves the processing of what is the important information, and then actually the writing. So there's a lot more that goes into than just note-taking. But I know that that's a skill that it's unfortunately going by the wayside because students just don't have to do it anymore. And then the third one in the instruction committee that I've been talking to Dr. Shepard, and I'm hoping that maybe next time we can start looking at what we have. It's the patriotic curriculum. I know we passed this 250th anniversary resolution today, but we can do more than that. And there are a number of curriculums, national curriculums. I know there's one in Louisiana that came highly recommended that we can look at that would take an approach from K through 12 to start teaching our kids more about our country. And you can start from very little. I mean, even in elementary school, I think I've told this story before about kids not knowing some of the songs that we grew up with, you know, like America the Beautiful. So, you know, that's something that you can do when you're in kindergarten and teach our kids. So those are things that I'm going to be working on as instruction committee. Personnel committee, we're going to keep on working hard. With Mr. Rickard and I are probably going to be setting up the meetings pretty soon to meet in the 3 campuses. The other thing is we just had a meeting yesterday for the mental health task force, and we had a great presentation by the Shenandoah Community Health Clinic. And a great conversation came up from that presentation, and that is the fact that we don't have enough civic or volunteer opportunities for our kids. I know some other school districts around the Commonwealth require that of all their students. I don't necessarily agree that we should be requiring that of all our students, just because some of our students have other responsibilities that would probably not give them that time, or maybe they don't have the transportation. But I would like to see more at our high schools and middle school, more opportunities for our kids to volunteer. We already have a couple of our schools. I know W.W. Robinson and I think Sandy Hook has, some of the teachers have actually formed like a club where the kids can volunteer and help around the school, and the kids really like that. I mean, it's not only about giving to others and doing things for others, but it also really helps with their self-esteem. So I would like to see how we can actually work on that, just provide more civic opportunities, maybe some clubs that we can have at our high schools and maybe our middle schools, so our kids can actually volunteer. And I know the Shenandoah Community Health Clinic, for example, is going to start a food bank in March. Well, that's something that our kids could actually help with. They're going to need painting, you know, just things like that that I know that our kids could really benefit from that. And then finally, I just wanted to kind of address real quick the comment earlier today about the Facebook. And I can assure you that I am not going to stop writing on Facebook if I think there is something important. If somebody doesn't want to read it, I'm fine with that. That's your option. But I was elected here to do a job. I'm not going to look the other way. This is not something that I'm going to be doing all the time. But if it's something that I feel is important, that's the way I'm going to communicate with my constituents and the people that I represent. So I just kind of wanted to make sure that I made mention of that, because it always kind of strikes me as odd when people are trying to say that you should not talk as much. But I want to make sure that, yeah, accountability and transparency are definitely something that I believe very strongly in, and it's going to continue. Happy New Year to everybody, and I'm glad to be here, and I look forward to any feedback from anybody regarding these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. District 4, Whitney Pence.
Yes, sir. One more time, I want to just once again acknowledge the Strasburg High School football team for their state championship. It is quite a tremendous accomplishment, and it's something that brings pride to our community. And like I said, as a former high school athlete, I'm a little bit envious. So I hope that they do enjoy that from now until the rest of their lives. Another thing I wanted to just talk about, I kind of want to resort back to November just for a minute. I had the pleasure of attending several choral and band winter performances in December, and I was just really amazed at the talent that our students have. I myself probably have the creativity and music ability of a water buffalo, so I'm very appreciative of the talents that our students have. And tonight we were given a lot of information, but one thing I do want to highlight is I want to just acknowledge the presentation from Ms. Proctor again on our school accountability and encourage parents and guardians to continue to stay engaged with what their students are bringing home, because it's that partnership that's important and is, you know, one that's very beneficial for and essential for our student success. So we've just started our second semester, and I want to just extend my sincere thanks to teachers and all of our school staff, and that we just have a successful second semester. And I do appreciate our staff's hard work and dedication.
Thank you. Mr. Rickard, District 6.
I've just got a few things that I wanted to talk about. One of the first things is I'd like to revisit our board norms, namely policy BHB. At our organizational meeting, I brought up professional development. The state is kind of vague on it. It doesn't really have a whole lot of teeth. However, we hold our teachers to a certain standard when it comes to professional development. And I believe if we're going to serve on the school board, we should make it a point to hold ourselves accountable and fulfill our state obligation to get professional development. So I'd like to revisit that and look over that policy, see if we could hold ourselves to a higher standard when it comes to that. The second thing is I wanted to thank the staff and the residents of Shenandoah County that reached out to me. Some sent emails pulling off the agenda the nomination for board chair and vice chair and filled my name in and Ms. Carlenio. And I really want to thank them. That says a lot that people would entrust me with that position, that thought highly enough of us to put those positions out there. You know, people have also reached out to me since that meeting and extended condolences. And I told them, I said, one thing that probably doesn't convey very well is I'm a son of God and I go wherever He leads. So, you know, that position was probably not meant to be, and it's not a big deal. I want to assure the students, the staff, the residents of Shenandoah County that I still intend to do this job just as I've done it for the last 2 years with honor, integrity, and transparency. And it doesn't matter whether I'm sitting in that chair or this chair, like I said at the organizational meeting. The only difference in the two positions is leadership. You're either up there leading or you're here. It's the same job. The last thing I've got is, Tom, I would like you to reach out to your pastor, Pastor Bowers, and please thank him and his staff there at the church for doing the dinner this Sunday. I will not be in attendance. The organizational meeting still bothers me a little bit. I reached out to 4 of you all, well actually all of you all, early in December to let you know that I was going to be running for chair and asking for your support, and all of you told me, oh, I haven't even thought about that yet. It's too early on. I got to see who else is running. Well, as God would have it, the last board member that I contacted was Chairman Vance. And he said, well, Mike, he said, a couple people have already reached out to me and asked me to run. And I thought to myself, well, that's awfully odd. I kept getting the story that it's too early to consider that. So the stories didn't match up. But anyway, right now, I just don't believe I could sit down with you guys and have a meal. And I hope you guys have a great time. Again, thank you to Pastor Bowers. Thank you to the congregation of that church for putting that on for us. I appreciate it. Other than that, Happy New Year to our staff. Thank our staff for all you guys do for our students and our school division. I hope you found some time to rest and relax over the Christmas break. And welcome back.
Mr. Hensley, you had a very thorough report, but you left one important thing out. Do you know what that was? the road signs at Sandy Hook Elementary who are turned around and not facing the traffic so they can read them. But that's okay, we'll get that straightened out. I appreciate you all hanging in here with us this evening. We're coming up here at 9:30. I appreciate all the teamwork on all of this. And it was Confucius who said, before you can move mountains, you must learn to move pebbles. And on that note, the chair seeks a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
We have two motions to adjourn. Ms. Pence, Mr. Rickard, is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second from Mr. Street. All in favor of adjourning at 9:30 p.m., please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We will stand adjourned until January the 26th at 6:30. Thank you and have a good evening.